you're all well. Sincerely, hope you're all doing well. I know that I said about taking a break and stuff, and we still are. But I felt the need, I felt compelled to have an intelligent conversation with you guys on what's going on in California and the rest of the United States. But let's be honest, California. Hey, 365. Good morning to you, sir. Morning where you are. It's about to be afternoon here. Good morning to you, sir. Okay. Let's have an intelligent conversation, and also let me point out that I was wrong. The protests continued. However, um, initially, I was correct about. So I was wrong, but I said it wrong. Really, what I said wrong, and I shouldn't have said it this way. I said that the protests weren't continuing after police took care of them in the one night. What I meant was violent protesting. That's actually what I meant, and even at this point, that is incorrect. So, we're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about what's been going on, and we're going to talk about, have an intelligent conversation about deportations, immigration, and protesting in general, just as a generalization, no bias to it. We're going to try really hard to look at this, from a intelligent, unbiased point of view. So, all right, let's get started. As you can see, United States immigration protests are our topic of discussion for today. And the question that is probably on a lot of your minds is any of this legal? Can you just protest in the middle of the street? Can you legally actually do that in the United States? I'm sure a lot of people are wondering this around the rest of the world, stuff like that, because they probably know the answer, right? So they're wondering what's actually happening and stuff like that. And you in this country, if you're in this country and you're watching, should be aware of the answer too. So we're not trying to ruffle any feathers here. We're just trying to get to the bottom of this and have a conclusive, intelligent conversation about why immigration exists, why there might be deportations, why you would want protesting, what it exists for, and things like that. So anyway, um, you're like the only one in here yet. 365. I'm kind of shocked by the one view count on the view counter. It's very odd. But anyway, it is a weird time. It is a weird time for YouTube. So let's just move on. Maybe they'll catch on that we're not getting any traffic, and we'll get started here. So speaking of traffic, can you legally protest on the streets of the United States, generally speaking? Well, here's what I'll say to you. As a like, if a lawyer was to look at this, they'd probably say, well, who owns the streets, technically speaking? Are you in a public space and stuff like that? So that's where the law gets involved. And if you simply Google, where can you legally protest in the United States, even Google will sit here and tell you in the United States you can legally protest in public spaces like streets, sidewalks, and parks, which are considered traditional public forums. It literally states that. So, the question becomes, why can Trump, why can ICE, why can everybody do what they're doing to prevent this? Okay, so this is all. Some of this is going to get a little political, but it's just to explain what's happening. I'm not going to take either side. I'm going to try not to do that. I'm just going to explain it, okay? So, oh, also let me state that Google goes on to say, Gemini here at Google goes on to say you can also protest on other public properties such as plazas, in front of government buildings, as long as you don't block access or interfere with the building's intended use. So, here's where they're going to try to use that, okay? They're gonna try to do this whole thing basically we're gonna back up a little bit. It's gonna sound like propaganda because that's what they're doing. So let's back up. Why do you want deportations and immigration in the first place? Why do you want this in the first place? I know I'm having trouble here. Sorry, I'm still getting used to it. So why do you want this in the first place? Is it for an agenda because we want superior white genes or something? No, that's definitely a way to look at it. No, that's not why you would want that. Let me just say too that we found out evolutionally that by the way, in modern technology has discovered we were wrong about that. Just to let you know, modern medical technology has discovered we were wrong about the whole genetic, you can making sure that through evolution, you just use the best of the best. No, you're still gonna, there's a mistake further down. Now you're doing it too much one way. Basically, we've just learned these things. So anyway, let me just state that. But first of all, this whole concept of removing people that don't belong and stuff like that started thousands of years ago, when people would conquer, divide and conquer, invade, and try to occupy, which is what we're seeing now in some parts of the world, with the point of laying claim to what they've already conquered. And it just works. And it basically, in a modern society, what you need to understand about that is that we have all occupied the world. So, you don't need to do that anymore. We live in a modern society. Everybody's generally was kind of getting along, so it seemed, the idea is that we've developed systems of governing, we've gotten along, we have education, we have all these things that we have learned about all those mistakes we did make. And we try to educate to make sure that we don't make them again, right? So why do we keep doing it? Now we come back to the propaganda and why they're using that. And this is the intelligence part of it. Almost any intelligence community on the planet is looking at what's happening in our country right now, because this is not, I am not saying this because, again, I'm choosing a side. I'm saying it because of everything I just said. So you arrive at the conclusion, A, streets are able to be used for protesting. Are we allowed to, are those folks allowed to be where they are because of this paperwork and this paperwork and this paper? A lot of the time, that's what we're seeing. And so what this comes down to is you start following it as any investigator would, where you learn, where you look at a president that made it so that Congress can't hold him accountable, or the judges for that matter, like Supreme Court and stuff, and then very slowly starts doing things that that person would not normally be able to do, where they would normally have checks and balances, if that makes sense. Where we've seen other countries in the past do this, like totalitarianism, like in North Korea, where you have Kim Jong-un, and they've always had a dynasty that just completely brainwashes and lies, so that way there's always a system of people that don't understand why you want immigration, why it's important, and they just will pick whoever the government states for you to dislike. So let's talk about why immigration is important and what it actually serves and what the purpose of it actually is, okay? The purpose of it is exactly what I've been talking about, where we have intelligence that tells us these group of people are secretly hiding here. They're secretly doing, because again, they can't do it in plain sight. We would just see that. All this, you know, the due process and everything, that's the point. So the propaganda is to use the hate that's already created, where a lot of folks just have this hold on the way they feel about maybe another race or something like that, and view their country a certain way. And this politician, to push the agenda and the votes that they need to do what they want to do, is just going to use that as a tool to go around the normal checks and balances that they would normally do, which is what's happening. And we haven't seen it this bad for a long time, where you know, presidents used to do things like this, but then again, we kept putting more checks and balances in so that they couldn't, and stuff like that, where we're going way back to a time where, you know, again, it's like folks don't understand what governing is, and there's no fallback in your brain where you can start rationalizing it's wrong. And so that's where we need to go and understand what immigration is for in the first place. Again, removing people that are secretly here and actually causing real harm, like scamming people, stealing money, things like that, versus folks that, again, they're using the state system to try to gain valid citizenship. They have paperwork, they have workers for the state, local governments and stuff that would back that up and stuff like that, and that's who's being targeted, instead of what the other intelligence organizations tried to give. You know, essentially all the other members of all the terrorist groups, like, again, I've mentioned Al-Qaeda being in this country, and we know about September 11th, we know, again, they were sort of unsuccessful. So why are we trying to pretend like that's not why we want immigration, instead of just trying to peddle this just drug thing, where we know, like, you look at the numbers for the drugs, we are getting the cartel, we're smacking them. Great. So why are we still deporting and trying to pretend like there's this huge big problem? So that's where I have to look at it, not, again, from a perspective of everybody that would push this agenda for Trump is a Republican. No. You're an extremist. You're somebody that wants all this radical change. And again, I'm somebody that sounds like a Democrat, right? But I actually have conservative values. I believe in conservatism, and again, I heard some of the, I think I heard a protester say something to the effect of, like their free speech and stuff was being silenced. That's their democratic right. Don't call it that. That's not what it is. It's a right given to anybody in this country. It's not a democratic right. That's a right to anyone. You have a right to challenge and question anything. Yes, it's not a democratic right though. And don't think about it like that. We put these whole that's your amendment, man. So stop thinking about these as one. And Bernie Sanders is an independent, and even he, remember, even he was saying I got to run Democratic because there's not enough independents in Congress. Like, the point is, almost nobody is sort of kind of doing anything on an educated level. They're just trying to do things by force. So that brings me to, why do we want protests in the first place? And do you protest? Do you go out into the streets, block the streets? No. No. What does it do? Except make you and this country look bad. What does that do? This thing that's happening in California, should you be doing that right now? No. Nope. Am I calling for you to protest against the guy that, again, is doing these things? Yeah, sure. But you're reacting. And I get it. I get it. That's your family. That's somebody you care about. I get it. You want to. You have to. You feel like you have to. But let's resort to back what I just said at the beginning. In the United States, right on Google, can you legally protest in public spaces like streets, sidewalks, and parks? Yes. So, should you block the street and prevent others from getting to work and impede what they're trying to do, so that now they don't want to listen to your cause, they're just irritated by it? No. It reminds me of all the people that, when they were protesting outside the colleges and stuff for Free Palestine and stuff like that, they were coming in my chat and being a certain way too. Look, I'm all for it. I really am. And I'm truthfully, this is how middle of the road everybody should be. I am all for that. Yeah, absolutely. That was terrible. But don't block people from going to college. Don't come in here and spam my chat. Again, yes, I agree. I agree with doing it the right way. I agree with standing on the sides of the streets. Fill up the sidewalks as much as you can. Make sure it's hard for them to remove you, but don't get violent. Always be the better person. I saw, I'm not trying to pick a side or anything here, but I saw police, and some of them looked like the aggressive ones. Now, again, this could go either way. But one thing I will say is, when I see the footage of the protesting and then I see somebody with like a Mexican flag and stuff like that, listen, I love it. I love that you're doing that. That, great. Represent where you come from while being here. I'm all for that, actually. All for it. Because again, all they're saying is that they came from Mexico, respect that, but it doesn't mean that they're not still have every right by the system to be here and try to respect the fact that they want to do that and have the right to hold a Mexican flag up and stuff like that. But one thing I will say that's really foolish then, on the same side of things, is then when you try to do that and then you walk into the middle of a street in front of all these cars with a line of people, and they're doing it representing the Mexican flag. Do I have to say anything else about that? Or does it click when I say it like that? Because that, no. That you didn't do anything except take some people off. And again, I'm all for that message. I even just said I love that you're doing that and saying that you're proud of your right to freedom of speech. You want to have a Confederate flag flying. I don't care. It really doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. But if it bothers other people, what? Why? Do you see what I'm saying? Like if you do something where you're intentionally seeking to bother other people, why did you protest? Why did you do that? Or are you the one that's burning the cop cars and looting things and calling it a protest? So this is what the other side sees. So now again, everybody's going to see me as a Democrat, but that's not the point. I'm actually conservative in my views, and this is what you need to realize. That's what they're seeing the whole time. It's what I see too. I'm shaking my head the whole time, like I can't believe what I'm seeing. And I'll still respect you. I'll still respect the fact that you have the right to do those things. You have a right to be here. Everything that's happening in California is incredibly illegal, because it is. But it doesn't mean that you're in the right. You know, he's not in the right either. The guy in charge? No, he's not. But as much as it sucks, you can't. There's just certain things, like, again, don't let those holds on you dictate what you do with that. So why do we want protests in the first place? And how do we do them? Don't show up with a weapon. Why would you do that? You're going to a place where you know there's a lot of people. Do you go to a concert with a weapon? You're going to get kicked out promptly by security at the door, I promise you that. Okay. Do you see what I'm saying? Use a little common sense. Don't show up making it look like you came there for destruction. And, you know, you have to realize that there is a time and a place for protests. And yes, right now is the time. You should be. But here's how you should do it. You should, again, all of y'all signed up for the Democrats. Why'd you do that? Because you hate the GOP that much? Why not try to be nice to them and work with them? Some of them actually might agree with you. Which is going to take me to my next segue here soon. But again, I just, if your want is to throw yourself in front of a car for the sake of the country, for the sake of our rights, go into government. Be a senator. Be a representative. Don't do that. Do it right. Become smart. Use the system. Use the tools. Do what they're doing. Because all they're doing is bringing back old, archaic means of the system that shouldn't be used anymore. That's it. Yeah, it's like declaring national emergencies and stuff like that when there aren't any. Yeah, it'd be nice if there was a national emergency for carbon pollution or something like that, you know, where we all have to start doing stuff. We're just... no lie, I saw a gentleman drop a piece of trash on the ground in front of me the other day when he was walking. Thought nobody noticed. Like just stuff like this, you know, come on. So, this takes me to my next segue about the GOP and about working with them instead of being disrespectful. Now, again, there are two sides to everything. There are always people on that side of things that they're too enveloped by the politics and the propaganda to bother. And recognize that. But that's not everybody. It's actually probably not even the majority. And then this takes me into what I was going to say, is what you need to realize is that because this is very different than anything in modern history, and because of that, a lot of these people that are in government are actually concerned for their safety, because they essentially are involved with this in some way, and it's going to fall back on them. So you have to realize that lawsuits and stuff like that, all this is pinned on the point that this man stays in office a third time. You have to realize what's actually happening. This is not any type of thing where I'm picking a side or to recognize and follow the course of what they're doing and what's happening, and see that they're doing this, giving him the power, essentially, so that way, you know, I don't know, maybe J.D. Vance will get elected or something, you know, like, obviously he can't run a third time, but they're gonna have somebody do this and then reinstate power. You have to realize that can't happen. Nobody would support that. That's not how our system works. And if he does that, yes, he is absolutely the guy with the mustache from Germany. Yes, he is. It's not an agenda. It's not a, you know, bias or pick it at that. That is basically just saying, no, by force, he went and did the same thing this other guy did. As soon as he took power, he just took over, changed everything, you know, and again, that's what's happening. It's not, that's not me picking a side, that's actually happening. Now, again, we're going to talk about the immigration, the protests, but understand that, again, I'm somebody, I'm just going to give it, I try to give him everything I can. You guys know I have actually done this at times. I'm like, well, I agree with that. I agree with the sentiment behind what he says, but again, it's always incorrect. It's always, you know, there's never a plan. There's never a, you know, so the point is, everybody is at a certain point where anybody that did like Trump before they feel like they sort of can't admit to it. Like, people are gonna, like, harm them and stuff like that. That's what you have to realize. And we have to get to a certain point. This is why these protests and stuff, you have to realize that I think that anybody that votes for MAGA and stuff like that type of agenda and stuff, you have to realize that they're kind of a little bit concerned that you know, because just seeing your display and how emotional you get in public, like they are, you know, you got to look at it from their perspective. Maybe they have recognized that Trump's a loose cannon and they don't necessarily want him anymore either, but they also recognize that maybe if you just kind of keep your mouth shut and smile at the camera a little bit, it'll all go away. That's the concern that I'm worried about. What they need to realize is that's not going to happen. This guy recognizes behavior in the way he is. Recognize it. He will stay in office. He will fight that till he dies. I promise. It's everything he's ever done. He fights everything. He can't take a loss in golf. It's not I'm not picking a side. It's the fact. You know, I can lose. You guys know I get upset at the game or something like that when it acts a certain way. But I'll laugh at my, like my losses a lot of the time. I'll fall off a cliff and think that's funny. Sometimes I get upset. But I wear that shit, you see it. He wears it all the time. It's never a thing where you get what I'm saying? Where he has another side where we can all sit here and we do that from time to time. We do it. All of us do it. And recognize the behavior. That's all I'm saying. And that's the any intelligence organization and stuff like that, they're recognizing that behavior too in the person in charge. And they're all watching what he does because he is very predictable. This is what I talked about his predictable behavior, where he's extremely predictable. They are counting on this civil war. They want this whole thing. And he's sending the Marines, and it looks really bad. That is the it's getting worse. Like, all right, let me paint a picture for you. Let's say you're playing a game, and this was like Sim City, right? And you were looking at it like that. Just bear with me here. Just bear with me here. And you're looking at it like, like you're playing a game, and everybody in the game, like you start losing money, and then like you just notice that like there's like an election process. You start losing all this money. And, like, there's military on your streets doing stuff. There's just police everywhere. And people are protesting this and stuff like that. And meanwhile, they're, like, destroying stuff. It's getting worse. And all the current, government is doing... Like, you're playing this game, right? You're just building stuff, right? But, like... all the current government seems to be doing is just like sending more military, and then just like kind of like the news outlets are covering it and stuff. So that's you're getting like little tips and stuff, and you're like thinking to yourself, why isn't all right? And then so like as the gamer, your city just starts collapsing. You suddenly don't have a budget for anything. You can't even like send police out anymore. So again, there's more military, and the people are just becoming impoverished or trying to move away and stuff like that. And so the ones that are staying there, they can't even survive. And then meanwhile, all this conveniently happened right around when, again, you just had a new president come into office, and then the government started acting totally different and stuff like that. And then you, as a player, just go, well, okay, so let's just remove this guy from the seat then, since he can't seem to keep the people happy. Let's just take that guy out. And then instantly you put another guy in, and instantly he starts doing things like balancing the budget, making sure that the funding is used appropriately. And then, like, this, like, suddenly, like just things start happening, like the buildings start getting better, and like the air gets cleaner, like there's trees sprouting up and stuff like that. You see cops, like, more showing up. There's more of them instead of it being just military. There's more cops, and stuff like that. Like, you just see, like, just generally speaking, the city can handle itself a lot better. So, on a most basic scale, you see what happens. You see that essentially a person in government came in and tried to basically cripple some of the most core cities, the most core values of the entire country, so that way it would topple everything else. And again, it's not it's not a political agenda or basis for anything political propaganda-wise. if you just sit there and you just follow the breadcrumbs and deduce exactly what's happening. That's not, I'm not picking a side, I'm not picking, like, no. That, again, you just recognize what's happening with fact. So, let's get to some other stuff here after explaining all that. This, again, guys, this is how anybody in the intelligence community is looking at this. Anybody. Regardless of what they tell Donald Trump. They're not telling him anything. You realize this, right? They lie to that guy. They can't tell him things. He would actually harm the country. They can't tell him things. Like, all the, like, that's what you need to realize about that. Like, and that's what all the other intelligence organizations realize, too. Like, yeah, they might be telling him stuff, but it's kind of obvious they're not. Like, he's spending half his time on a golf course, and he doesn't know what's going on. So, the point is that, you know, we've seen this. We've seen the interviews. No, I didn't know that was happening. When did that happen? You know, like somebody's like deported or something, and it's like somebody important and he doesn't know, or something like that. He's asked about it, and you know, or something like, it's just something like that. You know, I can't. I was trying to think of the specific example I saw, but there's actually quite a number of examples of things like that where Trump was caught off guard by something where he clearly had no idea what was actually happening. And there's times with this, with Obama, with Biden and stuff, but at least with them, a lot of times somebody runs over really quick and like whispers in their ear, and he goes, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that thing. We did this. Like basically, like they didn't understand, they didn't remember because somebody else is working on it. It was more like, well, I trust what you want to do with that. That sounds okay. And they didn't really know that much about it. They just trusted the person that they hired to do it. And so, like, the person has to run over and say, remember the thing I told you? Oh, right, that thing. You know, that's all. That's all it is. And so, like, I would be willing to trust Trump with those things if, again, he didn't show us over and over and over that that's how he acts, that most of the time he really actually doesn't know what's kind of going on, and, you know, he's caught off guard by a lot of things. So, again, that's not an opinion. That's something you can, like, look up and see. So, this is going to move to, let's see here. Did we talk about this? Is there a time and place for deportations? Did we talk about this? I feel like we did, but we can talk about it a little bit more. Here, let me, is there a time and place for deportations? Again, guys, this, as we do these intelligence conversations, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I am still getting used to this. This is ridiculous. Yeah, no, it's not. No, it's. Hold on. It's literally just like one accidental press and the whole thing's just, it's ridiculous. I gotta like cover that or something. So is there a time and place for deportations? Yes, but let me get more coffee. Is there a time and place for deportations? Yes. Um, if we see that, again, the intelligence community and the people that are put in those positions have determined that there are actually terrorist groups operating, we have isolated them, we have used those resources to properly do those things. That's it. It does not look like Donald Trump, sort of sitting there just doing stuff. Just saying, well, we're not going to have a country anymore if we don't deport a bunch of Spanish people. That's not what it looks like. So yeah, is there a time and place for deportations? Yes. But it doesn't look like that. And to waste the money that you give the government on that's a big slap in the face to anybody that pays their taxes. Big slap in the face. Especially coming from the guy who said that, again, if you remember, he called it a smart move to not pay his taxes for how long? Remember that? Isn't he also the same guy that's taking the IRS over with the intention of using their information to deport people and fine them? That's how he's doing it, you know that, right? Because they pay their taxes and they're good people that pay their taxes. He's using that to fine them. Criminals and people that don't deserve to be here don't pay taxes. They usually sit here and find plenty of ways to get around it. Just like a certain somebody that's trying to force all of them out while using that exact organization. And if you remember, the chairman of the IRS, the head person, resigned, wanting nothing to do with it, because they know if and when he is elected out of office, oh my goodness. So that leads me to the next part. The sheer amount of lawsuits the United States government is going to have against them because of this administration. It will destroy this country. So, not only has Trump destroyed the country, but regardless of whether he's president, like again, we know he's terrible. He can't balance the budget. He can't spend anything properly. He's deporting people randomly that, again, don't legally have no reason to be, like, all these different, he's trying to deport actual citizens and stuff. Remember all the times that happened? All these things we can say, again, this is not a bias towards, against Trump. It's just these are the facts of the matter. And meanwhile, we can't bring ourselves to understand that it was broken before this. And again, him coming into office the second time and doing these things, the beautiful bill that is not beautiful, it's disgusting, that condemned us to decades probably of lawsuits from other countries, other importers, not just the countries, the people importing that now may have to close their businesses down or something like that because of these tariffs that were not decided on, just like randomly causing, like just like again, the massive amount like that you can't even consider. And we know of Trump voters, people that voted for him even this third time. Like again, when they even voted for him against Biden and he lost, and they voted for him a third time, where people still are coming out and saying, "Well, I don't like him anymore." These people are people that suddenly realized the tariffs were a bad idea because they had a business that it impacted. They just immediately realized it. Overnight, it was just their prices skyrocketed, and it literally said, like they have to lay, so it said right on there, and they just knew. And this is the point. He's like, just doing this stuff. Opposite of what the experts and everybody else says. I mean, like, why would all the other leaders of every other country also say, no, you don't do that? How does that make any sense? It doesn't. I'm sorry that I haven't been reacting to chat. I do see the chat. There's a lot of stuff I'm trying to get to because we do these intelligent conversations to give you guys a perspective on where you should be. And I think where we should all be right now is at a place where we reject this guy, again, for intelligent reasons, not for ones where, again, we can't all agree that you can have a Republican and a Democrat and still disagree. That's fine. We want to all do that. And that's where I want to get to with you guys, like, and show you guys that I can see that stuff too. I'm actually pretty conservative with my viewpoints, but that's the point. I am far more centrist than this guy, and we're gonna get to what I'm gonna say as a conclusion. But let me address this really quick. You sound 50 feet away from your mic. I'm sorry. Can you turn up your volume? I mean, my mic volume says it's like 2/3 full volume when I'm maxing. I mean, I suppose I could turn it up a little bit. How's that? I can shift it a little bit, but I'm not sitting here trying to break anybody's ears or anything. If you can't turn your volume up, I'm sorry. Secondly, so you believe the ones being targeted are all here legally. So when we think about things like what you just said, there are many things that I'd like to say about that statement. And just the way that you think. Like, I can sit here and immediately, as an analyst and somebody that looks at all this stuff, immediately I know exactly the way you think by the way you phrase that question. I know that because you phrase it like that, so you actually believe that basically there's a legitimate problem with people, with immigrants being here illegally. I know that just from reading that question. Because again, you couldn't phrase it as a question. You had to state what you think is part of that question. So it sort of trickles along that propaganda. I'm just showing this to you guys. Don't be upset by this. I'm just showing you how to analyze stuff too. Because this is the point, is that you want to be able to understand if somebody's actually middle of the road or if they're kind of doing stuff like that. So again, I know where your opinions lie, just because again you phrased it like that. So you believe the ones targeted are all here legally. So again, a very subjective question, subjective argument. Do I believe they're all here legally? I mean, legal by what bounds? In our country, legally means if there's a law in your state or local municipal that governs that those people can be here, like there's paperwork that supports, yes, they are under the sanctuary of this city, they must stay in the bounds of the city, they must confine to this particular class for English lessons, they gotta prove they're taking history lessons, they gotta maintain a job, they have to pay their taxes, they gotta prove they're doing all these things, and they have to have regular scheduled meetings with their representative to prove they're doing this. I'd say they're here legally. Yes. Now, you can be a total jackass and look at it like you are, but that's how everybody's going to say, how everybody's going to see that looks at it from the people side that they're trying to defend. We're like, I'm just here trying to defend people that know, like, I've had so many friends and known so many people over the years, you know, that went through that system and stuff like that, and did obtain legal citizenship and stuff because they had to do it legally, they had to go through, and trust me, they were right. They have to know more about history than you. They got to know how everything works, and that's how they know this isn't legal. That's often how they know it isn't. Like, it's hard for them to actually gain this. And so, like, the point is, they already feel like there's a superior complex where they have to do this, but the rest of us forced our way onto this land you know, with superior weapons from the Native Americans that were here, and we sort of did that originally. So they kind of look at us a certain way, where we have a superior complex, where we expect them to do this, but we are no different if they go back and look at actual history, and they're being forced to do that. So understand where they're coming from. It's not supposed to be easy. Good. I like that. Yeah. But is it easy to exist as an American? As a white American and stuff like that? Yeah, so like that's the point. That's what most people don't understand. They have the impoverished issues and the racial issues to deal with. Like, it's not just one, they have both. And then that causes all kinds of problems. At one point, everyone forced their way somewhere. Yes. And if I wanted to be a Mexican citizen, I would do things their citizens don't. Okay, so you're admitting that if you were in Mexico, you'd be a criminal, okay? I mean, that's kind of what that says to me. I don't understand what you're saying about that. What, you know what I mean? Like, I would do things, I would be a Mexican citizen, I would do things their citizens, like, that doesn't, I don't understand what you're saying with that. What does white have to do with it? Are you trying to say that, like, you, because you support American culture, you'd be different than them? Like, yes, I guess, but not if you grew up there. You would have grown up there and you'd view things the way they do. You would. What does white have to do with it? It has everything to do with it. Like learning some English. LOL, to be a citizen anywhere, non-citizens. So again, we're talking to Joel here. This is Joel. To be a citizen anywhere, non-citizens have to do things people born there don't. It's everywhere. That's true. And that's what I'm saying. I'm in support of that. I just told you that. So why are you trying to, again, like, it just seems like you're trying to laugh and spin what this is full on propaganda what you're doing here. So did you come in here to try to spin everything I'm saying to propaganda? Because this is what you're doing. I just stated that, man. I'm the one saying that. So you're trying to use my own defense for these people against me when I just stated that. Yes, that's the point. They know it better. So I don't understand how that helps that helps what I'm saying more. So are you helping me, or like I'm just confused by that. Problem is Biden administration. I'm sorry. This is Barry now. Says problem is Biden administration let in millions of illegals. So now the ones that were in line to become citizens must now wait even longer. Okay, that's a valid argument. I don't know about that. One thing I will say is that immigration is this is what folks don't understand about immigration. Immigration at the border isn't what you think. There are, like, people can visit the country and just come here. And then what they do is they just go to a state where the state allows them to seek citizenship, like California or something like that. So again, it's the state that's governing those things. So you saying the Biden administration just allowed too many, that's a very, very quick, dismissive way to blame the Biden administration for something that isn't their fault. You're like, again, you're just trying to say again that they should take the blame for all these Mexicans that are here that you don't like. Again, the problem isn't Mexicans. The problem isn't just letting a bunch of people be here. The problem is that type of thinking. And that's the whole point, is everything I just said. There's a reason for immigration and deportation. It isn't to just randomly pick Mexicans and the people that, like you just pointed out, have to really, really try hard to be here, pay their taxes. That, again, Donald Trump is using to find them and deport them, their tax information. Because they show that they're good citizens and they're trying. No, it shouldn't be that. It should be the Al-Qaeda that are here that are worth billions, that are spying on all of you and manipulating all of this, and just like this right now. Yep. Exactly how we planned it. You understand what's happening? Clearly not. Al-Qaeda couldn't accomplish what they did with September 11th. So they slowly figured out a way to swoon one of the most racist guys on the planet. Because they know he is. So basically, like, they give him a jet. They treat him nice. People here treat him like crap. Yeah, so he starts pandering to terrorism and liking these people. You talk about a guy that was caught in an interview admitting he would sell secrets to the enemy. Sell it. Yeah, that's treason, right? Again, that's not me picking a side. I literally heard that watching an interview with him, and nobody talks about this. So again, I am not somebody that picks sides. I love John McCain. I loved real Republicans, and we're going to get to that. And we're going to get to what you all should have done. If you dislike, like the Democrats that dislike, the Democratic voters that dislike Trump, you should join the government but sign up as Republican. Change the side you disagree with to be more like what you do. Because conservatism is really struggling. It ain't conservatism anymore. These people are going in and cutting taxes for rich people. while costing you more money and spending shitloads of money on military to deport our own people. That's not conservatism. That's like, that's totalitarianism, man. That's all autocracy. That has nothing to do with conservatism. I want to know that he's focusing on things to save money, not spend more money. It's not just Mexicans. Barry says it's not just Mexicans, it's Chinese, Africans, Mongolians. There are many races that need deported for coming here illegally, and who let them just barge in. Biden administration. That is pretty loaded with propaganda, dude. That is pretty loaded with propaganda. So again, just implicitly blaming. You know, it'd be like if I sat here and blamed all of fake news on Trump. Well, no, fake news exists. It's people. I mean, he brought it into politics. He brought social media into politics. So he's the one that tainted politics with this ridiculousness, yes. But he didn't invent fake news. He just brought it into politics. So it would be like blaming him for all that. Again, Biden administration didn't bring Chinese and Africans and like, what? No. They just ran the country. Okay? Now, again, if you'd like to vote locally and you'd like to write to your senator about that and give a hoot, do it. But otherwise, you're just talking in a chat about what you think happened, when that's not even close, man. I'm just being honest with you. It's just not even close to it. Biden administration had nothing to do with bringing a bunch of Chinese, Africans, and Mongolians here. I don't know where the heck that even comes from. Joel says it's not struggling, LOL. It's costing me nothing. My groceries are down, and so is my gas. That's interesting because that's not the case for everywhere I've ever seen and everybody else I've talked to. So, not really sure where you're from, but everything I've seen. Also, gas shouldn't be affected. So again, adding the gas tells me you're making that up. Gas doesn't have anything to do with this. Also, gas is going up because Trump started importing oil from Russia again. Biden was drilling for oil here. So again, just proving that you, again, come in here and you don't have any knowledge of what you're talking about. You just literally state things that aren't true. I mean, like, I literally just won that argument about your gas. Like, again, that's the fact of that. So any expert would agree, like, yeah, he's right, you're wrong. And so, like, that's what Trump does too, except he just talks over people that prove him wrong, so they can't prove him wrong anymore. So that's why you like Trump, because you don't want to hear the truth. You just want to talk over it and come in the chat and be heard. So that's kind of my point, is we're just like disrupting the stream at this point just to be heard. But I will let you keep going here, because I think it's important to let people be heard. Hold on, give me a sec. I just screwed my cup. Okay, my fault. Still getting used to the way things are. For every article that you pull up, I can pull one up that one stating it's down. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I'm using facts and proof. So again, I used Google to sit here and prove, again, can people legally stand in the middle of the streets and protest? In the United States, you can legally protest in public spaces like streets, sidewalks, and parks, which are considered traditional public forums. Again, all I did was use my own brain to ask a question, and again, the AI, yeah, it's confirming, yep, flat out, that is legal, you can do that. So again, Trump and ICE and the military are being used incorrectly. This is no article here. You said it's common knowledge to say it's down. What? I don't understand what you're telling me. It's down? What does that mean? I said it's common knowledge to say it's down? I said that it's common knowledge and should be commonly accepted, which it is. It is. The majority doesn't like Trump. The majority didn't even vote. You made a claim I'm paying more. Well, not necessarily you specifically. Clearly not. Unless you're lying to us, which I think you are. Because again, the gas price thing, that's just not true. That has nothing to do with anything. Again, like I said, if anything, it would go up because Trump started importing oil from Russia again when Biden was actually drilling for it here, which would have brought it down. So if anything, Biden would have actually improved the gas prices for once, whereas normally that's not the case because we were always importing oil from Russia. So again, I'm not necessarily talking to you. This is all about you. You're getting timed out. This is all about you, man. So I'm gonna start making a habit of this too. We've got to get used to. We've got to understand that monopolizing the chat will get us in a certain place where we start thinking we're right. We're monopolizing the chat, thinking we're right. I gotta be honest with you. Like you can be right if you want in your own head, but don't monopolize somebody's chat who's trying to sit here and come from a place of fact when all you're doing is kind of coming in here with like opinions. You're not really stating any fact. You're just saying like, oh, if you have an article, I can disprove the article. Again, I haven't even brought up any articles. I'm actually using just fact and information at this point. So, like we're just gonna put you to again, like we're trying to get to some real topics here, and you're just kind of not adding to it. You're getting us off subject. You're really getting us on the propaganda train. I'm just not having it. I don't know who you were, but I'm not having it. Even Barry in here seemed to be a lot more respective of chat. Let's see. B from 313 says the USA doesn't even use their reserves. They buy oil from other countries. Yes, thank you. Joel, do not trust everything you read on the internet. Have you ever heard American propaganda? Yeah, exactly. Thank you, B from 313. This is commonly known. The rest of the world knows this. Majority of the country knows this. Where does the majority of the country come from? Do you have any idea how many people are in California? That's why Trump is doing this. We all know it. The intelligence community knows it. Do you have any idea just how many people are in Los Angeles alone? Los Angeles, San Diego. Like that is like central the United States. So yeah, the mistake they made is thinking that the central United States was actually the East Coast. It's not. It's not. So like that was the whole point, was that our country was just very much unknown to a lot of people for a long time because of how separated we were. With the internet, and this is why in the last intelligence briefing, I hope it leaks out and helps some people. I really do, because you notice we put a world map on the thumbnail. It was backwards. do you guys have realized how many people live in like totalitarian societies and stuff like that where they're lied to and they don't even know how big Russia is? They think Russia's like maybe like this big and they're invading because they need more space. The whole point was to... Do you see that big thing on the map on the thumbnail? That's Russia. So, like, the point is, like, why would they need Ukraine? Because Putin has mismanaged and destroyed Russia. So now he's just invading Ukraine because there ain't nothing left there because he's all screwed it all up. Trump's doing the same thing. He models those people. We all know it. And he's going to screw all us up and then just invade Canada or invade Mexico when he screws up all our land. Like, that's the point. You have to use history to see where it's going. Like, what is this guy, based on what he's done, based on what I've seen other people in history do, and him modeling after what these people do, he's gonna then do this thing. Yeah. And if there's even a 1% chance of considering that that would happen, absolutely, our intelligence organizations consider that a threat. And yeah, I guarantee you, if I'm thinking it, they're thinking it times of 100. So, just remember that the more your society gets, the more your government gets towards totalitarianism, the closer we get to screwing our country up to the point where it's like the Middle East, where those people. And now this is the next segue. Okay, now this is gonna get where it starts to get. Now we got a little on the propaganda train earlier, unfortunately, because of Joel. I was answering his questions, and I apologize for that. We need to get back on track. This is how religion plays into it. Religion's a big one. It happens here. It happens, trust me, with Al-Qaeda. That is their entire thing. That is all of it. So this is so important. Let's talk. With religion. With religion, hold on. I just want to look at my notes here. I made some notes I don't want to forget about. What we have to realize is that everybody has a different God, deity, what have you. This is so important to respect. Because this is what you get when you don't. And if their God or deity is the type where you recognize that regime, that whatever is rising up, and their ultimate goal is to commit acts of terror, bomb things, unalive people, they are done. That is where we take Black Ops. That is where we go in and that is when you eye for an eye. That is the only time you trade lives, because they're trading lives already. They're unaliving innocents and themselves. Who knows what they're capable of? Worth billions, crashing planes, and they're all doing this for some stinking God that they think is going to give them some enlightened thing, or like, what lie are they told to believe that unaliving themselves and blowing things up is somehow what? No, that needs to get smacked. That's the only thing that needs to get smacked and needs to be unalived. We do not nuke, we do not destroy, we do not occupy any longer, but that, yeah. And that's what we're not doing. We're using propaganda to attack Mexicans and say that that's... No. Most people in this country are fooled by the Joel in, like the Joel in my chat, where people want to just get behind this easy solution and not admit that it's really this bad that you've been contributing. And you can't be seen as wrong. You want to defend yourself and stuff like that, and maybe you even hurt some people and stuff like that with your words because you were wrong about Trump. And that was wrong of you. You know, we have an entire country acting and doing things just because they care about a guy that's literally not worth caring about. It's not doing the job. So when we spend all of this money deporting people that are already here, trying to, you know, like fool who are you fooling? You're certainly not fooling me. Because again, there are real terrorist organizations that we can look up plenty of articles for. This is what Canada talks about. This is what Trudeau was talking about. Like, there are real threats. And Trump's like, let's just deport Mexicans. There are real threats. So, how does, again, with religion, how does it play in? Exactly what I was just saying, where you have an entire group, and now let's say this group becomes a country. You know, they're no longer just a dangerous group. Now they're Iran. You know, or something like that, where we have taken away their ability. You know, we knew they were bad. We specifically had this treaty where they were not allowed to make weapons because of how bad they were. Donald Trump takes credit for getting rid of that. What part of this do you not understand when, again, all you have to do is start remembering pieces of information and stop using propaganda to try to convince yourself. So what we have to realize is that when we involve religion and we involve all these other things, these moving parts, your type of thinking starts to change. You no longer accept fact. You won't even go and become educated any longer. You'll just start, you know, not accepting things that you read in an encyclopedia or a textbook. Oh, the Holocaust, that's fake news. You know, I've literally met some people. Yeah, I've met some people in my lifetime that could talk about that. And you're saying it doesn't exist. Oh. That's pretty messed up. So you're going to do the same thing about all these people being thrown into concentration camps now? Are you going to say the same thing, that it didn't exist? because that's the point. What the federal government is doing is basically just human trafficking. Because again, on a state level, these people are legally allowed to be here. Feds don't have any jurisdiction to just arrest people and put them in camps. Except for matters of national security. And Trump can just declare this, going over the judges' heads. Like, the things, the checks and balances that would normally be in place aren't, because he has the power of a king. This is what we've told you all. This is what this means. That's why it's dangerous. Because he shouldn't be a king. Recognize his behavior. His childish behavior. He can't even lose at golf, guys. When he's proven, when South Park makes fun of him. God, I hope they make fun of me. Do you know how long I've been sitting here screaming at my camera, hoping they do an episode on me? God, man. That would be a good thing. He should use that. I mean, he could laugh about it. But no. Just like after the SNL thing, when he done on there and he was nice, seemingly, he complained about it later. Just like all the other times where he joked around about something and then took it back later, and we realized he just wasn't like that. You know, realize that he can't joke about something. He can't, you know, like literally, he can't be wrong. And that's not good. That's not somebody with any checks and balances with themselves. They're not out for you. I promise. I'm not here for some... If I was here for an agenda, do you have any idea how many viewers I would get? How I could just immediately get funding and get paid supporting Trump? Do you know that? You realize that, right? I'm a white dude. I look like I do. I sound like I do. He would jump all over that. His people would have jumped all, like, it would have been so easy. Just like with anybody else that comes out here and speaks against him. Why wouldn't they speak for him? Well, because it's dangerous. Because they are intelligent enough to know, why would they want to work for this? You know, like, that's the point. They could use that to hell, but they're not gonna, because they shouldn't. They should tell you the truth. They should speak out about it, just as I am. And again, it's not a side to do it at this point. At this point, it's not. You have to recognize what's happening, just as all the other intelligence organizations have. Just as anyone that's like a historian, that studies political science, that studies history and stuff, knows how this stuff works, has recognized. Again, I'm not trying to be insulting to anybody, and I certainly hope I haven't been in this stream or anything like that. And I apologize for any insulting that you may have felt previously too. I really don't mean for that, but when somebody is just sitting here with fact, and you're denying that fact, what else can that person deduce about you? If again, it's just a fact. It's no. Again, the same person in here saying for every article that I show, they can show me an article down or whatever that means. What does that mean? Does that mean that you can make some stuff up and call it a media outlet and tell me that it's reputable? Yeah. Yes, that's what that means. Does that mean that's credible? No. That's again why I'm sitting here and I'm showing you how to use your brain to do all of this. That's why we're doing this. So that you can do that. Because that's all I do. So again, this is how we do it. We come to these rationalizations, these educated conclusions about behavior, about history, about everything that we know about checks and balances and what's good for you and the country. And again, it's not supposed to be anti-Trump. It's really not. I would have loved, I've said this so much, I would have loved to have given that guy everything. Every last support, every ounce of every credit he would deserve. If there was anything to give. I would say it. I would be like, at least that's something. There you go. He did something. Every time that has happened, he flipped it by the next day. I swear. Remember that like whole week where he like wore a blue tie and he acted really democratic? Remember that? And he hired a different, it wasn't Kash Patel, it was like a different FBI dude. It was like a whole week for some reason he was just being really weird. Like flipped. Something must have happened where like he was really worried about his life or something, so he did a flip. Recognize those things. And then just all of a sudden out of nowhere he flips back. He knows what he's doing. So the question is, what happened then? I think the FBI director that he was going to appoint started doing some stuff. I'll be honest with you. I think he did. I think he was like, you want me to be FBI director? We're going to have some problems here. I think that's truthfully what happened. And he's like, Kash Patel. But that's an opinion. There's an opinion. That I have nothing credible that leads. I just literally me piecing things together that I think I see based on what I see. That's an opinion. And that's okay. But that's where I wanted to show you that's where your opinion should stop. You know, like if you have an opinion about politics, that's it. How things happened, not are they happening. No, if it's happening, it's happening. Accept it, man. Like the moon landing. That happened. The Holocaust. That happened. These protests going on right now. They're happening. Unfortunately. And again, somebody that let's not go that route. Let's talk about let's go back to this religion thing. Let's continue with this. Again, with this whole religion thing, you're gonna build, unfortunately, all these different societies and governments that at various times they're gonna have entire people that are brought up to believe something different than them. And just like with people in North Korea now, we're only finding out about the stuff that happened there because finally some military have defected. Finally. Like, we didn't know shit for so long, excuse my French, but we didn't, because it was always coming from citizens that were lied to. And even they would say, now it's hard to say if that was a lie or... The military, though, they knew. And again, even as they're defecting, they're saying things like that. Like, some of the other people, too, they know. And most of them just generally know that they're being lied to. But if they say anything, they do anything, they are disappeared. So, again, do you, Joel, who's sitting here peddling that whole thing for Trump, eventually want it to get to that point? Basically, where you're in here and you're telling me that these people deserve this and they shouldn't come here. That type of thinking, knowing that allowing a leader to get to get to the point where he's allowed to do those things with no checks and balances, you have a cult following for him where he can do this. You're saying that you will, you're okay with it getting to that point. That's what you're saying with that. And that's where the rest of us are saying, no, we're not. We're stopping it before it gets to that, and we're trying to get everybody else on board. And again, the protesting, yes, it needs to happen, but again, don't block the streets. That is so... I can't for the life of me understand why you would do that. I really can't. All right, let me put it to you this way. If Biden was president again, you would still have protests, because there's always protests. They would just be, obviously, with less merit, where people are just finding reasons and showing up with Kevlar and machine guns instead of, a bunch of people just like backpacks and cameras and stuff. It would just look different, right? And yeah, there'd be less because there's less MAGA. Yes. So, and there's more white people that vote for him too. So it would look primarily white. It would look a certain way. So that's why this looks a certain way. Because we know Trump does sort of kind of say things against certain racial groups, and we know he deports them. He talks about it like this. So yeah, of course people are going to be against that. That's who's going to show up to. So it looks a certain way to the media and to you when you don't do this and you just sit back and watch and have that tunnel vision scope where you don't see what you see this what the media shows you. But meanwhile, over there, you don't see the random cop that shoved somebody that was standing on the front line that I saw. And it was unfortunate. I saw a creator covering like some content. He didn't pick it out. I was like, man, I would have said something. No lie. Front lines, nothing's happening. This guy is like, and it was one of the people with the Mexican signs. He turns his back on the line of cops. And they're a good few feet from him. He's like 3 or 4 feet away. He's not within his bubble. He turns his back, and I watch the cop put his hands on the guy and shove him. I watch it happen. This is what I'm seeing. And so, like, the point is, the media isn't covering that. Do you know why? Because unfortunately, the police station where that officer works will attack the media outlet. That's what's happening. Who's covering that? Is anybody covering this? Did you know about that? That's what people should be covering. And this is actually happening where, like, individual, more singleized attacks are happening to, like, journalists and people that are just trying to speak out about real things because the mainstream media is covering what they want instead of what's happening. And yeah, that's ratings. Even Trump likes that. Yeah, he's fine with CNN showing some huge drone footage of all these people there because it makes the Democrats look nuts. So it just peddles his that's why he wants this. And he wants it to look like to Russia and the Middle East and stuff that all the police and the military are here getting them and shit like that. That's what you need to realize. It's propaganda Trump is giving to China, India, Russia, all those countries, North Korea, that want to see that free thought and free thinking does this. That's essentially what they're doing. And that's how an intelligence agency, too, is going to look at it. Like, you know, they're going to look at that from that angle where it's like, oh my god, yeah, like, because that's exactly what that's going to do. Like, that's exactly what that's going to do. Bel Air Academy says, who are you talking to? Who am I talking to? I'm talking to everybody. Can you guys hear me? Again, like, my mic is, like, you just turn that up. It's pretty far up there. I'm confused by the question, I guess. I'm talking to the general public, the world, people in general. That's who I'm talking to. Anybody that will, you know, hear me out and is willing to listen to the sentiment. Especially MAGA. Yeah, because they're the ones being manipulated here. So, the point is that, like I said with the, with Russia, you know, like the point is that they will use whatever agenda is going on here and stuff like that, because everybody looks at the U.S. as a model, because we've been the world power for so long. It's a model for how society should be. You know what's crazy? Here's what's crazy. We all know this, right? Everybody does kind of know this, generally speaking. Yeah, generally speaking, you know this. You know that the U.S. We know this. You know what's crazy? North Koreans think it's them. They think it's North Korea. Because they are so lied to by their own society. They think they have the military world power. They think that Kim Jong-un is like a god that doesn't even defecate and stuff like that. Citizens. Obviously, military would start to realize the truth because they're educated. And they get clearance for certain things and stuff like that. But they just keep their mouth shut. Do what they're told. So, let's go back to what I was going to say about Republicans, about what you can do. Again, like I said, some of you that are protesting in streets, blocking traffic, instead of doing that, you should have joined the GOP. No, not Democrat, GOP. Change the side you don't agree with. Why aren't there more Republicans trying to join the Democrats and work with them and change their viewpoints if they don't agree with it? The same could be said the other way around. This is what the Democrats did with the Clintons. It's exactly what they did. This is what I've been saying all along. The Clintons, as much as you hate, as much as the propaganda makes you hate, everything we knew about the 90s, everything that happened in the 2000s, all of this success for our country was because of what they did. As sure as hell wasn't Bush Sr., I tell you that. And, again, Clinton balanced the budget. Paved the way for the 90s. Record economic numbers. And Bush started a war. Even George W. Like, that's what I'm saying. Even George W. That Bush. Obama wore a tan suit, you know? Like, people, this is the point. Like, the scandals from the Democratic side, like, are so laughable. And then when Trump comes in, suddenly there's all these illegal things that, again, they can't prove. They're trying so hard, and again, they just can't. just making stuff up. Well, because again, Trump actually did do a bunch of illegal things that people are finding out about. So they have to make up that, oh, the Democrats do too. It's everybody. No, it's not. No, it's really not. It's Trump, and the reason why his people did is because he told them to do all these things that they didn't know were illegal, and they were inexperienced, so they just did them. You know, like, basically his entire White House, like his first administration, every one of them got arrested or something like that, convicted or something, like every single one of them, basically. He literally just, like, started replacing, it was bad. And like, literally just because they were doing things that were illegal, but they should have known, like essentially where, like, they should have known, like, they're doing that position, so they had that responsibility to know, you know, like, take an oath of that position, or whatever, you know, like, Director of National Security, or whatever, you know, whatever it may be, you know. So, that's the propaganda. That's how you should look at that. And that's not a side. That's me deducing the facts of what happened. The propaganda would be to say it's fake news. It's not. They think he doesn't poop. Cassandra says, why don't you run for president? Good question. Running for president takes a shitload of money. Excuse my French. But it does. Like, more than you would think. Like, even Kamala didn't have... You know what I mean? Like, Elon Musk had to... Like, our system's broken. Like, basically, our system right now is to the point where you buy yourself into it. Like, Elon proved that. Elon single-handedly came in and bought Trump's victory because nobody's voting. If the numbers show up, that's different. You have to show up. But they didn't. And yeah, it was read Kamala's book when it comes out. I think it's coming out soon. I actually want to read it. I want to find out more about that. But she had historically the shortest presidential campaign in history, right? And yeah, that was probably a lot of it. Probably. Because that does matter. Cassandra says, I think I would vote for you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Here's what you have to realize. Even Bernie Sanders, somebody everyone loves, somebody that's an independent, he ran Democratic specifically for what I'm saying. He even does this exactly like what I'm doing right now. He sounds like this. He has a very commanding voice. You'd love him. You'd love him to death. Yet he didn't get voted. He didn't have the delegates. Why? Because it's rigged. That's the point. Bernie is loved as that guy is, and he's still in good health. That guy would have been president, would have been great. None of this shit would be happening. Meanwhile, he never was, and everybody freaking loves that guy. So, I appreciate the sentiment, but that's not gonna fix things. Thinking that one-off people can run like Tom Hanks or like, it's not gonna happen. It's not the solution. The solution is getting more people on the other side in the government. Like I said, where folks like you, I appreciate you, want to and are willing to work with the GOP and be a representative for their side while giving actual conservative values instead of what's in there now. You know, standing up for it and going, I don't think that cutting taxes for the rich instead of increasing them for the middle class is conservative. I think that's actually very bad and will give us less money in the government in the long run. I'm gonna stand against that. And that's absolutely true. And that's what more people need to be doing. Bloodica545 says, I love ice. Cassandra says, oh, I was joking. If you were president, that would be horrible. You sound insane. Well, that's a much more logical point of view. I don't know that I sound insane. I have a pretty center of the road logical point of view, but I appreciate your honesty, and I appreciate the fact that you wouldn't want a one-off person as president and stuff like that. Good, you shouldn't. But again, I am more informed than Donald Trump. I could win any debate against that guy. Anything. I would easily welcome debates against Donald Trump. Because again, he didn't win a single debate. He just talked over people, took more time than he should, didn't ever actually give any credible... So again, like, and you can go back and watch previous debates, too, of other Republicans that used to. And the whole point is that Republicans were just getting bad at campaigning. And Democrats became successful. That's it. So they just started lying. And using lying propaganda to fool you. Okay. Well, that's obviously just literally you. So we have people making multiple accounts coming in here and stuff like that. So we went ahead and took care of that person. But yeah, actually, I'll probably just go ahead and block you guys because you're coming in here after getting timed out. So, showing that you can't use the chat properly, coming in on somebody, coming in another account, mentioning your name. Now you've been blocked. I gave you a chance. I timed you out the first time. So this is to show you guys what happens. I give people a chance. They come in on another account trying to get... See, so like basically this Cassandra person came in on another account. It's just Joel. And they come in and they go, can you debate that Joel person again? And stuff like that. So like, again, like this is the issue where they're just coming in on multiple accounts and trolling the agenda instead of actually having anything credible to say. So let me just do my due diligence here. Yeah, that's a weird... So I went ahead, I look at that as a problem. I'm going to block those people and move on, okay? And that's the way most moderating works. Typically, if you have moderators, they're just going to be able to recognize that, block them, and then the streamer will just continue right on as if nothing ever happened. Most people come in here and they know I don't really have this. I take care of it myself. And so what you have to realize is they try to take advantage of this. So that's what I wanted you to realize. That's why I wanted to talk about it a little bit. Because they try to take advantage of this. They have recognized at this point that as a streamer, that's the dynamic that other people don't understand, is that typically streamers do ignore questions they don't want to answer. I don't have to fucking answer a question if I don't want to, you know. So the whole point is, you're just coming in here forcing me to answer a question that's intentionally phrased a certain way. It's exactly like when... you know that an actor has had an issue with drama where it's not true. Somebody's just causing drama, causing a problem for that actor's image. And then instead of asking him about the movie that would help promote him, asking him about this, yada yada, The interviewer decides to be a jerk and just asks them about a personal thing in their personal life about drama. They didn't come there to promote the movie or anything. There's not a big poster behind them with a movie on it or anything. No, they're there to talk about their personal drama and stuff. So then that's when you see the actor just, they don't do it anymore. They just take the mic off and walk out and say, see ya. So this is, again, the mentality that I'm going to have here and that I have had for a while. It's just that so much nonsense has happened that, you know, it's hard to weed out what's going on. So that's what's happening with me. You know, you guys aren't going to see a huge presence of moderators on here because certain people did certain things to make sure that we wouldn't be able to use those tools. So it forces me to have to do it. And I'm just going to block you if you're acting like that. So, you know, again, I tried to give him a timeout, and he showed that he was going to abuse that. And that's that behavior that we talked about, where it's just like the rest of MAGA and just like Trump, where they can't admit they were wrong, they can't think about it, they have to force their way, they force their opinion. And you saw it. Coming in on another account just to talk about, you know. So that is exactly the behavior that we see out of this type of voter, this type of thinking, and stuff like that, where it doesn't seem valid. It's just random, sporadic, and again, that's exactly what you want, where the attention span of that person is less than 3 seconds. They won't remember you know, exactly why Biden is better or Obama is better. They won't remember these things. They won't care. All they'll care is that somebody else new is supporting that they like Trump, and they'll jump all over that. So, I think it's important to recognize that if you're agenda-free, you are against Trump at this point. It does not mean that you're picking a side. It means that you are on the side of having an agenda. Because if you aren't against what Trump is doing and stuff like that, Trump silences people. Trump takes credit for this. Trump tries to get stuff that he has said removed and stuff like that. We know this. So again, you're not on the side of even wanting to have a voice, where that type of thinking, like we mentioned with North Korea, where it's totalitarianism, they'll just eventually try to silence all this type of thinking. Deportations would be happening in jails, but Dems don't let it. So again, that's a very that is a very subjective statement, just that statement itself. This is what I've been talking about, where people just make these subjective statements about Democrats. So, deportations would be happening in jails. Let's make a simple line where it somehow makes it the Democrats' fault, that we have to do this way because the Democrats won't let us do it this way. Alright, Sally Quinta, I'll play along. I'll play along, Sal. Republicans have majority. Okay? When Republicans have majority, and again, they've now given up all of their power to Trump, where's your logic? That's not what they're doing, right? They're going to farms, they're going on the streets. They're going to schools. These human traffickers is what these ICE agents are. And they're going to schools. Like elementary schools. Like this is, we know this. This happened. And then the school has to sit there and like protect the kid is just there to try to go to school because he has to. He or she has to. They have to. By law. Yeah, you don't see the problem here, and then again they're just going to that school. So again, how do you rationalize that statement? Saying the Democrats? No, what does that, again, like that serves no purpose. There's no valid there. Again, there's no valid statement there because you could just say on that same token, they have when they have majority and Trump has the power the Republicans gave him at Congress, why are you trying to justify it as that when we literally see these human traffickers that we call ICE agents at elementary schools trying to scoop kids up? That's sad that you're going that route with it. It really is. And that's what I'll say to that. That's the way I'm going to look at that, and that's the way a lot of people are going to look at that, because again, that's what's happening. You're just saying something that's not true. It's just not even true at all. Literally just not true. Deportations would be happening in jails, but Dems don't let it. Not true. In fact, actually, they are deporting from... I think they are, actually. So again, you're just like not... Certain things you're saying, they're just not true at all. And picking the Dems as somebody that isn't letting it. Okay, so you're picking the state officials that represent these people where their rights are being violated. Yeah, I mean, like, that's what they're supposed to do. You literally, like, that so you're pointing out that the Democrats are doing their jobs? Thank you. Yeah, good job. Thank you. Yes. That's exactly what the government's supposed to do. It's supposed to make sure that the feds don't come in and do illegal stuff, because they do have a history of doing this. Do you remember when do you remember when California legalized marijuana and the feds came in and everybody was like booing? There was like, it looked so bad. Remember, it was like back in like, I think it was like 2010, right? Like all the feds were coming in and they were like taking all of the stuff out of the dispensaries. They were shutting it down. Everybody was booing. And then meanwhile, Obama just went in and signed something that said you can't do that because, again, the states have authority over feds. And so all Obama did was went in and signed something that reaffirmed what was already there. So that way they couldn't. So again, you're just showing examples of like you even you again. You're showing exactly how the propaganda is being used to fool you. Because all I have to do is pick a time where, again, I saw this happen. I remember it. Because I follow things and pay attention to news reports, instead of just picking one-off things from Fox and stuff like that and going, oh, the deportations would be happening here if it just weren't for the Democrats getting involved. And so, like, the point is, I can come to a conclusion now. I know how it happens, instead of just accepting some stuff I was told and trying to remember all this. No, the whole point is, know what's right and wrong. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Like, know that what you just said sounds exactly like propaganda because of the way you said it, and I can tell. And, again, that's the point of where we are right now, where there's so many people that don't understand that you're not picking a side if you're picking Trump. You're just picking anarchy and destruction and end of democracy, takeover of one man in charge. That's what you're, like, that's the point. That is not a side. That's not a government. That is not agenda free. Not at all. That is you just, oh, I agree with anarchy. I agree with MAGA. January 6th happened, man. Use that intelligence. Know that MAGA is not rational, logical, and will sit here and commit acts of terror, violence, kill police, and stuff like that. And probably half the people that were there were maybe police officers just kind of doing that. Because they do it for a job, so they're used to it. And meanwhile, the guy that you just supported your propaganda for, you just showed him who you are. He's single-handedly just getting people out of jail who commit acts of terror for him in his name. So that he can do this. No checks and balances, just, well, if you help him out, he'll sign a piece of paper that gets you off. Doesn't matter how many laws you broke, and that's wrong. Do the people that do this think about the people that they've hurt? And the police that died that day on January 6th? I investigated that. Did y'all investigate that? And then the media didn't cover it? And then you think it didn't happen? No, police died that day because MAGA violently protested and stormed the Capitol, believing that Donald Trump was right about an election rigged. While that, again, didn't happen, we proved it, and then now he is doing that very thing. When are people going to start getting on the side of intelligence and picking up those breadcrumbs and following that? That's where I'd like to that's where I'd like to help you guys with that. But the more we do things like this, deportations, like Sal La Quinta said here, deportations would be happening in jails, but Dems don't let. Again, all you're doing is just picking a side and never questioning it. Never. Do I do that with Obama and Biden and Democrats? No. No, I'm telling you I want Republicans, but ones that make right decisions. And we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Give me a second here. We're on 2 hours. It's not too bad. So Sunday's not too bad. Again, as you guys know, I am taking a little break from streaming normally. But there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot that is happening to all of us. And I can't sit utterly by. Like, as things happen, I have to do the best that I can to help, as we all are. But I also see the ability to put things in a perspective in a way that I can. That might be difficult for some because I've been following things and paying attention for a long time. And while you say that for every article that I have, you have an article that downs it, again, that doesn't make it true. Again, like, you just have entire media outlets that Trump created specifically for the purpose of lying to all of you. And you even pay for these scam organizations and subscriptions that limit your Google searches and stuff, thinking that that somehow helps you. No, that's the scam. You want to see the information. Why would you limit what you're limiting what I'm seeing. You're never seeing the truth. So for every article I have, you have one that downs it. Okay. Doesn't mean it's true. Credible media outlets are credible for a reason. They have investors, intelligent people, journalists, educated people. They've been doing it for literally decades. And then you're trusting the one that Trump created like a few years back. keep listening to Reuters and thinking it's... I mean, Reuters ain't too bad. It really isn't. But, again, that's one of the ones where I've seen an entire headline that was just completely opposite of what the article said. And that's fine. But it's clickbait. Recognize that. Read the article. It said the polar opposite. So if you would actually read the headline, you'd think the opposite's happening. And you read the article, it's like, what the? Why would they do that? It's just like on YouTube. When a streamer does it, and that's different. That doesn't have like you have a responsibility to the public. People depend on this, and you're just doing that. Hello, Galithian. Good to see you. I'm not trying to disrespect Galithian. It is really good to. I'm glad you're here because I'm not trying to disrespect Trump people. You know that. You came in from watching a stream when we were talking about this before, and I appreciate you. We were able to have a conversation and talk about Trump without, and I appreciate that. The whole point is that just it's trying to find common things we agree with, and coming to an understanding that maybe things are happening that we just don't realize, that we're not being told the truth about, and a lot of it is the media. The Offspring had a song called "Stuff Is Messed Up," and one of the lyrics from that song, thank God for the media for saving the day and for putting it all into perspective in a responsible way. And the whole song, like, it's sarcasm. The whole song is about how, and this was like a decade ago. I think this came out like mid 2000s, like maybe even longer than that. And this was like pre-Trump, I think. This was pre-Trump, when like it was bad just under Bush, and things were getting worse, and they were talking about this. They were talking about how bad the media is and how bad it's getting, how manipulative they are, and they would choose to use that line even then, pre-Trump. That's where again, the folks that are getting older now, and they were trying to warn us way back then. No, it's not that's them saying it's not a Trump thing. And even they're saying that. It's a media thing. Trump's just using the media. Do you get it? Glycian, well, I heard you say something about credible news sources. That's really no such thing anymore. Except it is. That's a misconception. There are credible sources. And that's the misconception. People don't understand research. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to show you how. I'm trying to show everybody how to use their own brain. How you can sit here and look up whether something's true or not. Fact checkers were established originally by unbiased people. Like essentially this is what they do. The whole purpose of their organization wasn't even political. It was based on the sense that they, like you, want to know what the actual truth is. And so this is what they do. They make sure this, they have all these, the point is they have these people, they have resources for this, they do the research. It's not just me, and it's not just all these other intelligent people, it's also these fact checkers, which Hillary was trying to point out. Everybody made fun of her for it, but that's the truth. And Snopes and stuff like that, these are fact checkers that are valid, that have every credible reason to tell you what they're telling you. Yes, that's true. No, it's not. I've used fact checkers to actually help prove. I mean, I hate to say it, but I've actually used them to disprove somebody that was, just spout nonsense about Trump before. Like before, when there wasn't as much as there is now. Now, see, that's my point. Is the Democrats and stuff, they're bad at this. There's so many things that they could regularly use to discredit this guy, and they're using the simple stuff. That's why it's frustrating, because then I'm the only one, and Colbert and all these other people are the only ones saying these credible things. And Schumer's up there talking about guacamole, making you fall asleep. So, like, this is the point. Like, all these Democrats, like, they just don't, they're old, they don't understand how to relate, and yeah, they're smart. They've been doing it a long time, but they don't understand how to relate. So that's why I'll have to discredit you. I'll have to discredit you. I'll literally just have to discredit that right now. Snopes.com, founded in 1995. So, what would this have anything to do with what's going on now? So, let me throw that out there. Snopes.com, founded in 1995 by David and Barbara Michelson, is a website focused on fact-checking and debunking urban legends and online rumors. Located in California's San Fernando Valley, the site offers evidence-based analysis of claims. Although Snopes has received criticism regarding its accuracy and potential bias, it remains a resource for online fact-checking, and in 2024, it launched FactBot, an AI tool. So, that's okay. I just, this is my problem, is like, so many people don't realize how actually accurate Snopes is. That one's good, trust me. And no, everybody's like, oh, that one's just, why? Because it's based out of California? Is this really what people think? I just, like, this is what we have to break. Like just because California's... go live there! Or go... What do you think the entire state is? Like some conspiracy society of people that are controlling your thought? And no, they're just people, man! And they move out there because everybody's nice out there. It's developed. It's cheaper in some ways. And then they have an easier time getting support for things because their government offers lots of support and does things for them. That's what's happening with California. And that's why there's, like, that's an opinion, for sure. But that's definitely, like, in my opinion, a lot of the reason why I've heard some people tell me that they've moved to California or currently live there now. So based on that, that's why I'm giving that opinion, because I have heard that from people I know, people that I've seen online that have talked about living there and stuff like that. And again, I have known people flat out in person that live there. So it's person to person basis where I can base this on things that I know. And you know, again, it's not like it's just this ridiculously, like, again, it's just a state like any other state. Again, it's just there's a lot of people that live there that, again, vote Democrat. And that's okay. But yeah, it's credible. And let's see. Politico's a good one. PolitiFact. I'm sorry. PolitiFact is a good one too. Here we go. You don't bash Californians, it's their leadership. Well, everybody has different opinions, and that's okay. But the point is, let's have different opinions on how much of a percentage to give people instead of taking things away. Think about everything Trump's doing and everything the Republicans are doing. Why are they just trying to take everything away from us? Kick people out? Like, why isn't everything secret? What, you know what I mean? Like, why is everything televised? Why does Trump care so much about the media? Why is he doing this? Why was every single thing about the pandemic televised with Dr. Fauci there? Like, why wasn't that stuff kept under wraps? Why wasn't there specific briefings with specific information? Why was that a laughingstock? Well, because he defunded the pandemic relief Obama had in place from an Obama. So again, there's one specific thing that happened. It was a massive disaster that if he had kept Obama's stuff that was in place, we would have had a much easier time. But he had just defunded pandemic response, and then we get a global pandemic. That's just, again, that guy doesn't know how to run the country. That's where you lose me. One sec. Sorry, this is going a little longer than I anticipated. So, I had to get some cereal because I'm like, I was starting to get hungry a bit. So I apologize if I'm eating a little bit. but it's so that we can keep going. So anyway, when the Galithian says, I don't bash Californians, it's their leadership. When the pandemic began, Trump tried to do a lot of things, but stopped at every turn by Democrats. Not really. Using everything from the court systems to public opinion, where they were just calling him racist and Islamophobic and constantly. So let's stay on topic a little bit. Let's stay on topic a little bit though. Let's just debunk that statement right now. I don't care that Democrats were blocking him. I don't care. What he's doing now is proving that they needed to do that. You know, all literally, I preface this stream with how illegal it is what he's doing. Every single person that they are doing this to has every legal right to sue the Trump administration, the federal government, and the police station where these police are located. Because nothing they're doing is legal. The state owns the roads. So that was what I was prefacing this, and I actually wanted to say that too, but I realized I didn't. I looked that up too. The federal government doesn't own the streets. So, and again, the state government overrides federal government. People don't realize that. That is the truth. And where they are sitting there and they have laws in place where these people can be there, and Trump tries to ensue a matter of national security just so that way he has legal bounds to have feds go scoop people up. What's the matter of national security? I'd say the matter of national security is Donald Trump. Not people paying taxes, working jobs. Using everything from the court, Galithian says, using everything from the court systems to public opinion. Oh, I'm sorry, I already read that. I was just responding to something you said, sorry. Oh, no worries. I just wanted to debunk, again, like, just how I feel about that. That's flat out debunked. Like, anything that anybody says where Democrats are just trying to block him, good. I have specifically got on here and said what restriction and regulation is for in government, and it should be used. Because otherwise, Trump does what Trump wants to do and starts removing things like allowing the dumping of oil waste, of like, like mining coal and stuff like that, into waterways, where your drinking water and stuff would become contaminated. This is what Trump did. That's why the Democrats are trying to block him and do things. Because again, Trump just randomly gets rid of things that would cause harm to all entire communities and stuff like that. Which is exactly what's happening in California. Where he just does these things where California has all these laws and regulations, and meanwhile, now it's chaos because all these other people have lived like this for so long that, yeah, they get ticked when, and it's not like that in so many other states, just because all the other states have been so slow to recognize a lot of the stuff that California has. Why do you know why there's a cancer warning on everything? Like, start looking at the backs of boxes in the stores and stuff. There's a California law cancer warning on like everything. Do you know why? Well, because flat out, whatever chemical is in that product, and that's why they put it on everything, just to show you just how many things are actually linked to cancer. And the government isn't doing anything. That's why. To make you aware. Just like the protests. Make you aware. Because you are fooled. Makes sense? Like, it is so bad, they have to do this. That's why they put that on there, because you wouldn't know otherwise. It's a public safety not to. That's why they do that. Because you wouldn't know. And so that's where that comes from. Now let me just again continue this little investigation here with you about Snopes. We'll finish this up. I'm just like looking here, seeing if there's anything here reported about the company where it seems like anything they've done was like a misreport or have a huge like history of like being accused of misreporting, and I don't see that. The so basically, like, here's what you need to realize is that when all these other here's how it works. If you run a media outlet, it just like a school, an education system or something like that, you will be bound to certain things. Like if for X amount of time somebody thinks that your school isn't a valid system of education where people can't actually get a job while going, like, after leaving there, or get a career, like they feel like it's not enough or whatever, that college is going to get discredited and they're going to lose their accreditation. Investors will pull out, it'll just shut down. If the same nonsense will happen to anybody in the media that for too long you can debunk this, you can debunk this, they're just gonna be like, whoa. I don't want any part of this. This makes me look bad. That's how most people think. This is why Trump doesn't work with Pence. This is why Trump doesn't work with anybody he has why all the other president, it's simpler than that. Like, it's the point is that just like all those media outlets that don't seem to confirm the same things as the big ones and stuff like that, that's why. Because, again, they're lying. And everybody else is just calling it out and saying they're liars. This is what happened. And so, like, that's the point. They get debunked, discredited, and very few people watch it, and or listen to it. And this is what happens on the most basic level with Trump too, where too many people reap the consequences of what that sorry but kind of an idiot does. He just acts kind of like an idiot and doesn't know what he's doing, and the people in the jobs, unfortunately, reap the consequences for Trump not knowing what he's doing. So he either fires them, they get thrown in jail, or like, just think, like, the consequences of what they did is so great, he can't work with them anymore. Because again, he can't be seen as the one that did that thing, even though it's ultimately his administration. So, again, I'm reading all this stuff on Snopes. I see nothing discrediting them. I see plenty of... Again, this is what people would say are the Democratic-leaning media outlets. CNN, MSNBC, Fortune, Forbes, the New York Times and stuff. They all obviously have been have referenced Snopes at various times, but the whole point is that, yeah, these are the people telling the truth. They typically don't make a habit of just misreporting things like Fox News. And so again, while they will once in a while do this and stuff like that, one-off times here and there, it's not a huge amount where you have an entire media outlet where every report's just a lie. That's Trump. He created that outlet. Nobody's doing that except him. He spent shitloads of money doing it too. So realize that. But yeah, like, he funded some made up websites and some media outlets to just lie to you, to just start making this stuff up. And that's why we trust the ones that have been around, because why the hell wouldn't you? They've been around. What? They're accredited, or they would be held accountable. That's why they stay around. Do you get what I'm saying? So, dang it, man, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to go, get some food, maybe? Get some fool? I don't know what you meant. Had some, I got to go some fool. Okay, some fool has got his, maybe period. Some fool has got his dog running around here terrorizing children, and my dog, I'm going to have to go deal with that. Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. You know, that problem that you just described, that's typically a problem that Democrats would actually... the whole regulation thing. But yeah, you go deal with that problem. Sorry, I thought I'd point that... So anyway... This is how you do this stuff, guys. Wikipedia is so important, and part of the reason for that is because it's a digital encyclopedia. It's sourced. You can reference those sources. So if something's wrong, you know why. You can reference the source and research that. That's why this is so... Because that's the point. Otherwise, yeah, it's a lie. But when all the big media outlets and stuff like that are not afraid to be referenced in Wikipedia, are not afraid of referencing each other and stuff like that, that's accountability. That's everybody being accountable for each other. That's how it should work. So anyway, This is getting a little long-winded. It is. So let's bring it back to, we were answering some questions, we were talking with chat, and I want to take the time to do that for sure. I always appreciate the chat and stuff like that. But I see a lot of people claiming to be from both sides, or from, like, support maybe both sides, or, you know, like, and they don't seem to understand how to do it. So that's why I wanted to kind of, like, truthfully, there is a way to do it, but you need to recognize if you're on a side too when somebody can do that. That's what you have to recognize. You lean on the people that understand how to look at the center of the road, because the parties switched. You know, JFK was probably one of the single exceptions in history where we had an example of a Democrat way back that was doing the things the Democrats do now. The roles are reversed. Democrats were the ones that started doing conservative values and pushing they just realized that's what people wanted, so they started doing that in the 90s. Like the Clintons and stuff like that. That's what they did. That was the whole purpose. And so, you know, just recognize when the parties reverse, and then because they did that, the Republicans had to have a side, so they just chose the side of, oh, they're wrong. And they're not. They're not. So, like, if all they're trying to do is help you and they're not wrong, you know what I'm saying? All they can ever do is just say, oh, they're wrong, they're wrong. He's, that's fake news. It just sounds ridiculous. So that's when Trump comes along and just starts making stories up. Whereas normally a Republican, they could never get away with that. The media just calls them out. Trump just gets away, just calls it fake news. People are just like, oh, okay, I believe you. Simple, dismissive, you forget all about it. It's brainwashing. And the point is, you're doing this with just everyday things now. You think everything's fake news. You think that Snopes is fake news. You think that that's debunked. It's just... No. You can trust everything they say. That's what they do. They're there for that. They would flat out tell you. They have told me when I was wrong about Trump. Yeah, they actually proved something I thought was, like... This is why I you know, like, way back started, you know, making sure I was right about things, because Snopes proved me wrong before, where I was supporting a Democratic opinion, and I was like, oh, shit, they got me. Okay. You know? So, the point is that it really will, like, that's the point, is, like, Trump is to the point where everything he's doing is wrong. That's why it's so hard to like, really, ethically, it's just wrong. That's why you can't rationalize, you can't prove it right, you can't do anything about it. Just everything that guy is doing is wrong. So, let's bring it back to what I was going to talk about before the Snopes thing. Sorry, I realized I forgot to change this the whole time. Um, are there current Okay. Here is a list of people that supported Trump. So basically, we have this weird Trump agenda where Trump likes numbers and he tries to cause problems for ratings and people. Like he's using AI to cause problems and for ratings and stuff for people that talk about him in a negative connotation. And we've been talking about this, and we've been talking about how Trump uses tools that our government, technology our government has, showing it to the rest of the world, irresponsibly using it on citizens. So basically, for a long time, it's been super obvious that Trump has his little things where if I'm on a good point and I'm making a valid point, maybe changing minds, and he realizes this, it's very obvious we have a bitrate shift. We see the concurrence come in, cycle in, but then leave the stream conveniently at the exact moment that concurrent counter would count it. Almost like they're trying to figure out what the delay is to cause a problem for the stream. So again, I have seen this countless times, and I have seen the result where they sat in here and did that long enough, and then the bitrate maliciously shifts around the rest of the stream, and then we don't see traffic the rest of the stream. We don't see, and again, that's what just happened. You see that 0, where it's just constant. So just want to remind you that's what we're seeing, and we've talked about this before. So again, a list of people that are against Trump that are Republicans. Mike Pence, I already listed him. He was against the 2024 election. He was against Trump. Here's something I didn't realize. Apparently he ran against Trump in the Republican primaries in 2001, 2003. What? I didn't even know that. See, this is how you find stuff out. Trump ran for president in 2000. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Maybe he's trying to hide some things about that process. He doesn't want you to know what happened. That he horribly lost or something. Apparently Mike Pence ran against Trump in the Republican primaries. Interesting. Alright, so, here's some other people. You guys remember John Bolton? John Bolton's the guy that Trump appointed as the U.S. National Security Advisor from 2018 to 2019, and then he was also but also John Bolton was the ambassador to the United Nations from 2005 to 2006. So that's John Bolton's credibility there. And remember, I even said a while back that if John Bolton is calling Trump out, you got to be concerned. Dan Coates. We have Dan Coates here, Director of National Intelligence by Trump, 2017 to 2019. And, oh, wow, he was a senator in Indiana. That means he knows Mike Pence, because that's where Mike Pence is from, too. So here we are. We have a U.S. senator from 1989 to 1999, and from 2001 to 2017. Wow, that was a long time. And then he was a director of national intelligence for 2 years under Trump. And this guy does not support Trump anymore. Dan Coates. Mark Esper, U.S. Secretary of Defense from 2019 to 2020. And the U.S. Secretary of the Army from 2017 to 2019. This guy no longer supports Trump. John F. Kelly, White House Chief of Staff from 2017 to 2019. Appointed by Trump again, U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security 2017. He is an independent. Interesting, I thought he was Republican. He's an independent apparently. And he does not support Trump. Jim Mattis, U.S. Secretary of Defense, 2017-2019. He no longer supports Trump. Basically, these guys opposed his 2024 election run. H.R. McMaster, Herbert McMaster, U.S. National Security Advisor, 2017 to 2018. This guy does not support Trump. White House officials. Let's go through that list, because that was just his cabinet level officials. Let's go through his White House list of people. Ty Cobb. He was an American lawyer. He was Assistant U.S. Attorney General for the District of Maryland in 1991 to 1986. He was a member of the Trump administration legal team. And he was White House Special Counsel from 2017 to 2018, Assistant U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland, like I said, from 81 to 86. However, he opposed Trump and endorsed Kamala Harris. Imagine that. Alyssa Farah Griffin, White House Director of Strategic Communications, 2020, Press Secretary of U.S. Department of Defense, 2019 to 2020, Press Secretary of the Vice President, 2017 to 2019, and co-host of The View. This lady has quite a resume. And she was hired by Trump for White House Director of Strategic Communications, 2020. Like I said, U.S. Department of Defense, 2019 and 2020. This is who Trump is hiring. And she did not endorse him. in the 2024 election. All these people. I'm not even, like, I'm still going here. This is ridiculous. Like you wouldn't believe that, like, this is, oh my god. I'm gonna be here all day. Holy sh... I'm gonna be here all day. Oh my... Now I know why he's acting like this. Because everybody hates him. Because you should. Holy. Let's keep going. This is insane. And he's just you know he's attacking these people. Like, that's the point. Like, this is insane. Cassidy Hutchinson, executive assistant to the White House Chief of Staff to 2020 to 2021, endorsed Kamala Harris. So she was hired for White House Chief of Staff 2020 to 2021, and she apparently opposed Trump in the 2024 election and endorsed Kamala Harris. Sorry, I say it wrong too. I have to keep correcting myself. Sarah Matthews, Deputy White House Press Secretary from 2020 to 2021, and she also endorsed Kamala Harris. Is it Kamala? It's Kamala, right? Like, that's how we're supposed to say it, right? I used to say Kamala, and then I kept getting corrected, like, by people that claim to like her. So I assumed it's Kamala. So please let me know if I'm wrong. I want to say it right. Like, I'm trying to say it right. Cuz I used to just say Kamala Harris, but I was told that was wrong. So, like, I'm just trying to say it right. Omarosa Newman, I think that's how you say her name. Omarosa Newman, communications director of the Office of Public Liaison, 2017 to 2018, and again appointed by Trump. Obviously, 2017, 2018, appointed by Trump. Obviously, this is insane. She also endorsed Kamala Harris. Like, all these people that Trump voted for then turned around and endorsed Kamala Harris. No wonder he's pissed. But at the same time, recognize everybody that loved this guy and then turned on him flat out and endorsed the opposite as a way out. Recognize that. And recognize that Elon Musk probably is the only reason this guy's president. Recognize that. He fled the country, too. Oh, yeah, I remember him. Yeah, I remember Anthony Scaramucci. Anthony Scaramucci, him I remember. White House Communications Director, 2017. And he also endorsed Kamala Harris. Mark Short, Chief of Staff to the President, 2019 to 2021. Says he endorsed Mike Pence. That's fine. But, like, the point is, he he did not support apparently the 2024 election. So like all these people I'm listening, they did not support him running in 2024. Like all these people, that's the list I'm reading. And they're all people that have worked for Trump and originally liked him enough to work for him, you know. Greg Browser, Assistant Director at the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI. 2017, Assistant Director to the FBI. U.S. Attorney for District of Nevada, 2008-2009. Endorsed Kamala Harris. So he flipped and endorsed Kamala Harris. James Comey. We all know James Comey. We remember him. Director of the FBI, 2013-2017. U.S. Deputy Attorney General. U.S. Attorney. I don't necessarily know that he endorsed Trump. Did he? I don't think he never really endorsed Trump. I don't think he endorsed Trump. Maybe he did. There's no evidence here that says, because remember, James Comey was just the previous director of the FBI, but he was until 2017, so maybe Trump approved him, said, like, you know, that's fine, you know, but then, like, when he didn't play ball, you know, and started investigating the guy that was committing crimes and stuff, then, of course, then Trump starts turning the finger. So it's possible that Comey got fired exactly the same way as everybody else did, trying to be helpful, but then ended up just getting fired because he found out Trump's literally a criminal. Yeah, James Comey. And I've always been in support of what he was trying to call out with Trump's nonsense. I miss having a competent FBI director. All right, so Sophia Kinzinger? Sophia Kinzinger, I think that's how you say her name. Press Secretary, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, 2020. Strategic Media Director, Office of the U.S. Vice President, endorsed Kamala Harris. She was the media director of, I guess, Mike Pence, 2018 to 2020, and she endorsed Kamala Harris after that. I see almost evidence that Trump is on here. Like, you gotta realize this whole, like, one-off thing where there's one person in here and we don't have trending, that's evidence. This is Trump listening. This is the shit list. I'm giving it to him. Notice the interference. There's no real trending here. I'm listing all these people that Trump wants to know if... And like, this is the point. He didn't ever think about it like this. But here it is, and I can just sit here and then conveniently you see 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, the same concurrence that we have been seeing, where, again, we know some bullshittery's going on there. Yet conveniently this happens right around as I'm listing the people that are against Trump. You don't think that that's an agenda to do something to these people? If you don't think that, then, again, you're not paying attention to credible intelligence and also seeing the patterns. So I just wanted to call that out. Yeah, again, these terrorists that literally just work for Trump, they're watching the stream, and they're just terrorists. And it's them this guy is protecting, and I've just noticed it. And then here we are, we have a stream where we're given this intel, and then conveniently they start all this nonsense. The bitrate's shifting around too. We saw that earlier too. Right before all this happened, where that bitrate, or I'm sorry, the concurrence were at 0, that bitrate was shifting around maliciously earlier. You guys know we're not playing a game here. There's no video game here. So you can't see it, say it's like trouble processing it or something. No. And aside from that, that is always what's happened. Where we see that bitrate shift, and we know flat out this is Donald Trump using your tax dollars to use the NSA to attack U.S. civilians. And he is doing this with your cell phone company. Just like he's doing it with the IRS. He can do that with AT&T. Because again, he's just using the NSA to do it. And I have gone to great lengths to prove this. This ain't some conspiracy. I have sat here and showed you that the guys, my phone, when I turn it on, it pings my location. Why does it do that? And you're not rationalizing this is how ICE agents are finding people? It pings my location. Just turning my phone on. Yeah, Trump was sitting here listening to all the stuff I've been saying over the years and learning to use it except against citizens. That's all he's doing. He recognizes me as somebody against him, so he's been sitting here having his people watch and use my intelligence against them, and my bitrate shifting around right now as I said that. Literally the second I said that. And now it's shifting around extremely maliciously. This is evidence of the FBI acting to lie for Trump. The deputy director of the FBI has been caught lying. He is in interviews saying there's no funny business with the Epstein footage, yet releases footage after the fact with funny business. Literally says that. Shows up looking like the most guilty guy on the planet. Literally offers that and says, oh, there's not going to be any funny business or anything like that. We're going to give you the full video so you can, there's not any funny business or anything like that. Why would you say that? Why would you say that? So again, I have just deduced that as these police do this, these people that work for Trump, they are the same as the rest of MAGA. They are angry that I'm just against Trump and I'm right. So they're just trying to shut me up. And so, again, my bitrate is legitimately, very maliciously shifting around right now. It was not, now it is. It is just massively. So remember, the point is that they always have done this. And Donald Trump is single-handedly. Who knows if half these people in chat are real people? I'll bet you half of these jerks that we see in here are literally the people doing this. I'll be willing to bet they are. I would put money on that. Yep. And I don't gamble. Yeah, I have a distinctive problem with it. You guys know, well, not a problem with it. I have a problem with other people. I have a problem with I literally don't like gambling. Yeah, I have a problem with gambling as a thing. Yes. I don't like it. I don't gamble. Yep, got a problem with that. Yep. Yep. Because gambling is terrible. You should not allow desperate people. You should not take advantage of desperate people. No intelligent, smart, like no person with lots of money that is educated walks into a casino. Is that Donald Trump, the big thing that he promotes, gambling, casinos, and stuff like that. The biggest. Yeah, my bitrate's shifting around. Nobody intelligent walks into a casino and says, I'm gonna drop a shitload of money on a number. I'm just gonna gamble it. Nobody does that. Desperate people do, in hopes they'll turn this little bit they got into something huge, because they're desperate. So again, the guy that makes money on the desperate and always has, he's become rich off the desperate. What else is he doing with the presidency? Continuing. Meanwhile, that's what the FBI found out. They just found out what I just told you. So Donald Trump literally just starts lying about them, trying to put all these things on them, lying about them, and appointing all the people that he wants to do those jobs to continue lying about it. Okay. Here's what happened. I wanted to get the information for you. Here's all you gotta do. Did the deputy director of the FBI lie about releasing the Epstein video after saying he would, and then we obviously got a doctored video? Because that's what happened. He said he would release the footage, and he would do so in a manner that, you can tell beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's no funny business and stuff like that. He actually offered that information. Nobody asked for that. He just offered it. Okay? So, looking like the antsiest, squirmiest guy on the planet, he says this, and then we get footage with an entire minute missing. That's what happened. And that's what I just looked up. So let me read the actual response that Gemini gave here after collaborating all of the internet evidence here. That was the question I had asked it. Let me tell you its response here now. And again, this is Gemini. We're not using ChatGPT today or anything like that. We are using the tool on Google that you could all use for it to use all the sources and all the information out there to give you the accurate answer. So, recent reporting raises questions and concerns about the transparency in handling the Jeffrey Epstein case, particularly regarding the release of documents and video footage. Regarding the deputy director of the FBI and the Epstein tapes. Bullet point, tensions between officials. There have been reports of tensions and disagreements within the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation concerning the handling of the Epstein-related materials, with some reports suggesting clashes between Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino. And this is true, where one wants to release the full list and the other one very obviously doesn't. We know that. And he's the one acting all antsy and saying, well, we're going to release the full thing and you'll know there's no funny business. Meanwhile, Pam Bondi's like, yeah, I got the whole list right here. Can we just... So anyway, second bullet point, missing footage. The DOJ, aka the Department of Justice, released what they described as full raw surveillance footage from near Epstein's jail cell, but it was found to be missing a minute of footage, raising further suspicion about its authenticity. Yeah. Video analysis, bullet point, third bullet point. Analysis of the metadata in the released video by independent experts suggest it was modified and edited using professional tools like Adobe Premiere Pro rather than being a direct export of the raw footage from the prison's surveillance system. Interesting. So, literally, as he's claiming that it's going to be the full thing and it's not going to be doctored or anything, conveniently, they released that, and that's exactly what we find out. Bullet point number 4. Inconsistencies. There are reported inconsistencies between the released video footage and statements or reports from the DOJ Inspector General, further fueling doubts about the transparency of this process. Yeah. DOJ, again, being Department of Justice. Bullet point number 5. Bongino's potential resignation. Some reports indicate that Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino has considered resigning due to the disagreements and controversies surrounding the Epstein case and handling the files. So, now we have a perfect example of, again, a guy. Republicans suck. Thank you, FaZe. I agree. We have an example of a guy who's literally just... He's the deputy director of the FBI. He's got this information. All he's got to do is secretly make sure it gets to the right Democrats. But nah. He's just gonna sit here and take one for Trump. Lie. Cheat. Remove the like, just cut that thing up and Adobe Premiere and shit like that. Meanwhile, now he's got to resign because all these people are like, well, he's the one that had it and it was fine then, but now it's not. And yeah, so he did it, but Trump made him do it. So yeah, like, again, yes, exactly. That's the point. Recognize when an entire side of the government, like, that's why this is happening. It's not the Democrats, it's the other side. So yes, it sounds biased, but it isn't. It's not picking a side, it's picking the side that you recognize is for ethics and for freedom. Recognizing which side that is these days, because again, the Democrats are for freedom of speech. They're for offering you the opinion to say, speak your mind and stuff like that. Trump's the one sitting there trying to force people with Marines not to. I think it's interesting, somebody came in here and chat and talked in chat, and we saw that one concurrent slip in, yet conveniently we haven't seen any after that. This is full-on evidence that Trump and their, people are using tools to lie about those numbers. If I call it out and I show it and stuff like that, they are going to key in the numbers, and we're going to keep track. We are absolutely going to keep track. This will just be another lawsuit piled on top of all the lawsuits. We are just going to continue keeping track of that, and somebody's going to, have a consequence for it, where, we can see that for a long time this has also been happening to me. I actually meet the prerequisite for, like, super chats and, certain types of sponsorships and stuff like that, but have not been given certain things to allow me to do that, all while conveniently, like, this weird stuff is going on. And we see this happening with other people too, where they're being essentially canceled and stuff. The thing with me is that they did this to me as the test. I was first. So basically, I was the one where I was the test, where I had just started out, and they knew that I was talking about this on social media and stuff, so they followed me around. And they learned that I was starting this channel and stuff, so they just started canceling me before I even got, like basically only allowing certain amount of traffic, yada yada yada. And conveniently, if I said something that was pro-Trump or pro this, like way back before I swore off of it stuff, I would get lots of views. I would get huge interjection. It was almost like they were trying to brainwash me and get me on their side, but I didn't quite do it. So we can talk about conspiracies, but what I see here isn't a conspiracy. I've seen it too much. It's just like all the other things I've seen that now I've seen it. It's not just, like Trump. The problem is that anybody else would have stopped. They would have just moved on with themselves. And like, yeah, he's right. I shouldn't just sit here endlessly harassing somebody. Flat out. They would have realized anybody that sits here and endlessly does this and harms people and stuff, this is somebody that has an entire history in life of doing this. Where they can endlessly... That's Trump. Like a corrupt politician or something like that. Yeah. Where they can just get away with it. Yeah. Yes. So this is what's happening. They are working. They are tracking the stuff that other countries are doing to us to harm us, but instead of doing something about it, they're using it to also harm us. Which is why Al Qaeda and stuff gave Trump a plane. Well, Qatar did, right? Yeah, that's Al Qaeda. You have any idea? Again, if you accept like a gift from another nation, this is a law. Like you'll go to jail for like a long time. Like that's you can't do that. This is a matter of national security. You just brought that thing. It's a Trojan horse, is the concept. And so Donald Trump has a Trojan horse sitting in the little White House storage. And he's too foolish to realize that, like I said with the religion thing, these people will even betray him. They kill themselves for this. And you think that you can trust these people? That they have your interest in mind? No, Trump. No, they do not. They're coming for your seat. And if they get it, they'll unalive themselves in it. Like, this is how nuts they are. So yeah, you accepting a frickin' plane from Qatar. I mean, she's Qatar, sorry. It's not Qatar, Qatar, sorry. Accepted a plane from Qatar. It does sound kind of funny. Dude, you are telling them they can screw with you. That's what you did. You told them they can screw with you. You accepted. Sorry, but that's what any like intelligent person, intelligent community, that's how they're going to look at that. That's how you should look at that. That is literally how you look at that. I'd tell him that to his face. I'd even be respectful because he's the president. This is what people don't do. No, he demands that respect, so give it to him. Like, I talk about him in these ways, but it doesn't mean that if I had a meeting with him and I was trying to reason with him, I'd speak to him that way. Now, he's going to go and turn around and do the opposite. He will stab me in the back. And when he does, I'll call him out. Just like everybody else has. And there'll be another person that he used. And that's what's happening. So that's what you need to realize, is many other people did the same thing. And had the same rationalization and tried that. And they proved it didn't work. But, nah, he's just always right, and you can't. And that's not the case. Nobody's always right. We know that. There was times Obama said, yeah, that was my biggest regret of my presidency, was that. Stuff like that. Like, even he owned up to things. That's important. So anyway, this is a little long-winded, and I think we're nearing the end here, but to sum up the things that we discussed, and are there current Republicans against Trump? Yeah, there's a ton of them. You just don't hear from them. Because they have to stay quiet or Trump goes after them. And that's messed up. That is messed up. What you have to realize too about celebrities is that while some of them want to weigh in, they're probably trying really hard not to weigh in. And maybe some of them even show up in chats to try to, debate and stuff like that, and it doesn't go so well because they don't normally do those things. And so what you have to realize is that even with celebrities, even with them, like people that are intelligent, like, again, a lot of times a celebrity is an intelligent person, because they amounted to that stardom usually by some form of effort or work. Not always. Well, obviously we know that's not always the case, so people get lucky. But for the most part, we can deduce that. And so obviously there's some form of confidence and intelligence within that person and stuff like that. But you need to instill also that that person now is very smart necessarily with that thing. So they don't necessarily know some of the other stuff that, like they spend a lot of time just doing one thing and being focused on that, and they just don't know much about it. And that's okay to admit that, but don't then be all emotional and heated over political discussion that again is detrimental the other direction, but you don't know that. Like, you see it as bad, but the propaganda convinces you it's actually the bad from the other side when it's the side you're going for. And so that's not good. That, like, at that point, that's when you're taking it the wrong direction. That's when the brainwashing works. So an intelligent conversation about when to protest and when to where to protest again is lost on most people because, as we said in the beginning, they are legally allowed to do what they're doing. That is illegal. Now, I disagree with that. I think that we should have amended these laws and stuff like that. But at the same time, if you do, you actually do start worrying about free speech and stuff like that. Because the part of the issue is that people are forcing others to listen by impeding their regular lives instead of... You know what I'm saying? Like, every single person that stands in the middle of the road and blocks traffic, you deserve to go to jail. Because you prevented... Is there a baby in one of those cars? Does anybody think that? So one of those many cars that you're blocking, like jackasses, like the dangers involved in that. Are you aware that one of those or many of those cars could have, I don't know, an infant child in it? Do you think of that? And you're exposed, like there's all these people around that are, their tensions are building. Who knows when somebody's just gonna throw a rock through a window or start shooting up the place. Meanwhile, you're impeding traffic in all of this, and these cars just, that happen to be driving by, somebody's just trying to take their kid to the doctor or something like that, and you're just stopping traffic. For your cause, because people are, yeah, I get it. He's doing things he shouldn't be doing, but again, so are you now. You are now preventing citizens from doing things they want to do and stuff like that. So, should you block traffic? No. No. Should you protest? Yes. Yes. Should you do it at the appropriate places, like outside government buildings? Yes. Should you respect police orders? Yes. Also, I'd like to note that we have evidence that we are getting views, but there's no concurrence. So there's lying about that number, just so that you know. The number's a lie. I see them sitting in here coming in the stream. So there's plenty of people cycling in the stream, and I see that. But again, this number, like, Trump really can't stand it when somebody is talking bad about him and they're like, you know, like they're just saying the truth. He just can't stand that. So that's what this is. And that's what it always has been. So, you know, he's gonna have some consequences. More than just some. You know, he's it's not gonna be good. And it won't even be after he's out of office. It'll be, if he tries to force his way into a third term, he won't survive it. Guarantee it. He just won't. You will not, like, again, dude, if people are trying to get you, Like, if people are trying to get you that soon after you get elected, you're not even the president yet, and they're trying to, and you're gonna try to force your way into. You really think that's gonna happen? Okay. Okay. Well, we'll see what happens first. We'll see if Al Qaeda, because of how irresponsible and stupid Trump is, somehow does something to the Pentagon, the White House, or something else in the meantime. We'll see. That's probably what's going to happen. Do you guys know that, like, I wonder how many people know this. How many people remember that the Pentagon had a plane fly into it? Do you remember that? Or how many people actually don't remember it and remember the lie? Do you remember when they lied to us and they told us the Pentagon wasn't hit? So that's what I remember. I remember that instantaneously the feds can sit there and go to a media outlet and say, this is what happened. Now, again, the point is that it wasn't mass, like, coverage of that. Like, it was mainly just the one, and then, like, later on we found out, like, you know, the truth, obviously. So that's why that's so important. And then calling that out, not doing that. So, again, there was apparently a fifth plane. And some of the people on this plane were heard having conversations and stuff like that. And it all happened, all this happened. But this plane landed and the people got off and survived. And these people were heard asking questions of the workers and stuff, that like phrasing it like this, phrasing it like, did they get the White House? And stuff like that. That can't be ignored. Like, stuff like that, that's like, oh, great. So there's a couple of terrorists in our country somewhere that have been hiding out since 2001. Oh, okay. Great. They probably had kids, too. Wow, and trained them to be as hateful as they are, and oh, wow. Yep. That is who you should deport. That is what deportation is for. Not for the people that are here to be here because they're going through the legal means. They're trying really hard to gain citizenship. These people show the effort. They're documented. They say they're not. Yes, they are. It's a lie. The number of times I've heard undocumented immigrants is a lie. It's flat out lying. Lie, lie, lie. That is a lie. There's so much documentation, it's not even funny. That is a lie. So, again, why is the President of the United States accepting gifts from the people that literally crashed planes into the World Trade Center and the Pentagon? And this gift is a plane. Huh? What? What version of the Twilight Zone do we live in? What version of the X-Files did we walk into? That's what a lot of these voters are saying. That's a lot of, like, it's not a Democrat mindset. It's a, you've realized we're all under attack mindset. And then my bitrate shifts around instantly. That wasn't happening. My bitrate hasn't shifted around for the past 2 streams. Those 2 streams we didn't shift around even a little bit. Yet today on political subjects, my bitrate's shifting around. Interesting. Gee, I wonder who's on this stream. Now, we can sit here and we can pretend like we agree with somebody that's making our decisions for us. Or, again, you know, you can just at a certain point recognize that it's not democratic. It's ethical. What is ethical is not necessarily democratic. It's just the ethics of it. This is how you would do that because it has the people's safety in mind. Randomly just picking people up to throw them in a camp that you can prove went through the state, had all this stuff, you can prove that ain't deportation. That's lying. It's not what it is. It's lying. And I saw the same concurrent just now come back in, just to come back in, see his concurrent, and leave. Just saw that just now. So it's just screw it. It's literally just a person screwing around with my little numbers, trying to make my numbers shift around and stuff like that. Essentially, they want some sort of reaction, so they can weaponize that in some way. Just like the reaction that everybody gives where, you know, the officer shoves the person, and he wants that guy to turn around and hit him or do something. That's the officer instigating violence. It's like every jerk that I see that pulls somebody over and they are obviously visibly ticked off instead of doing their job. That's unfortunate. That is really unfortunate that after driving 80, 90 miles an hour down the road, yeah, I'd be upset too, but that you feel the need to be angry and direct that at this person. That's a shame that you can't control that. Because the point is, you're not really angry at them. You're angry at them because they made you drive 80 miles an hour. And I've heard cops admit this. I've heard them pull somebody over and go, no, I'm upset because you made me drive this fast to catch up to you. That's not his fault. I mean, it is, but at the same time, you're literally sitting here pretending as a cop like nobody's ever gonna commit crimes. Would you have a job then? Your job isn't to pull somebody over and angrily yell at them, claiming, oh, I had to drive 80 miles an hour. No, give them a ticket or shut up. Stop making politics out of this. You escalate by doing that. You piss that person off, and now that person sees you as MAGA, because that's how you all act. And we recognize each other. Again, you label me as libtard, and again, it's not even close. I'm pretty centrist. Meanwhile, I'm labeling you as that, because again, all you did was angrily act a certain way when you pulled the person over, and then proved that you were sitting there trying to find any fucking reason to incriminate. You sit there and you look around and you tell them to step out, or you do stupid stuff. You don't actually follow procedure. There's procedure, like a list of things. They just like, nah. So, yes, there are both sides, and you can look at it from both ways, and that's the point. I can do that. I can tell you that I can do that. Just like I just looked at it from the point of view of that guy that pulled the person over. Yeah, he thinks he just has the right to brake check people and stuff like that. But meanwhile, yeah, that's dangerous. That's bad. Meanwhile, are you pulling over the people that have caused him to want to do that? That were tailgating and swerving back and forth? Or are they now way down the road because they passed them and you don't care? You didn't look at the cameras, you didn't believe the person, you didn't follow up after the fact. You just cited the guy that you pulled over originally, ticked him off, and now called it a day. And now that person labels you as a MAGA cop, sees that you incriminate, because the point is you wasn't doing anything wrong, and you just kind of acted a certain way. You didn't even be about your job. You very clearly brought emotions into it. If as a police officer you call somebody a name, like not their name or sir or anything, just as an identifiable thing, you choose to pick like a bullying name calling thing, like a very obviously name calling, you are involving your emotions. You are emotionally involved. You have picked what you think that person is and used it as a tool to make them feel bad or make others look at that person a certain way that would hear what you're saying. You are not a police officer if you're doing that. Nope. That is a classic manipulation scenario where you manipulate people to see other people and things the way you see them, because you bully things and you put things down, so therefore you want others to laugh with you and laugh at that person and laugh at this, because that's how you view things. But meanwhile, other people find that offensive, hate it, and they'd be right. And meanwhile, you can't understand how to be professional with other people. You just do this. But these same people that do this are so triggered when I do it to them just on my stream. Not even in person. But we see them show up in chat. We see them get triggered. We see the bitrate shift. We see the evidence of somebody absolutely retaliating, being emotional. And we see it all with the ICE agents too. These people don't have any legal means to do that. There's nothing legal that tells them to do that. They can defy the order. They do not have to do it. They do not. It is not legal. They can just simply not do it. Anyway, I think that's enough. Also, don't forget about all the police showing up in, like, their own vehicles and stuff like that, showing up to elementary schools to deport kids. That is very strange. is very strange. But you definitely don't want your religion and all that stuff to get to a certain point in your society where people think like this, where they think destruction, they just harm each other. The whole point of religion and stuff like that is to, you know, obviously get people to realize, yes, there's a God, and respect that, because we have evidence, plenty of evidence, that you're gonna bad things happen when you don't respect that. That's it. Plenty of evidence of that in history. And that's a pretty general statement. Yeah, you don't gotta unalive yourself to respect that, but you definitely should not be harming each other and doing it in the name of immigration. So, I would love to point out that for the past 40 minutes, the first 3-some hours of this stream, we had constant traffic. That concurrent counter wasn't all broken and messed up until I called out Donald Trump and the FBI, specifically the NSA, specifically noting that they are literally just harassing me and causing all of this, and then conveniently the bitrate shifts around as I call it out. The NSA is going to sit here and attack me. I'm going to attack back. You have no probable cause, reasonable suspicion. You know everything going on with me. So why are you attacking me? I make streams. Why are you attacking me? And again, this is the point. I will call them out, and I will absolutely go to war with Donald Trump's ridiculous NSA and FBI, because you people are disgusting. And you people are spying on Americans. And very clearly human trafficking people. And that's what I'm on to, and you know it. You know full well that Donald Trump human traffics people. He's the guy. He's the guy that was human trafficking people. It's literally Donald Trump. And this is the NSA and the FBI and all these people trying to protect this, the Epstein files, all this stuff, so that MAGA doesn't find out that Donald Trump human traffics people and children. That's why they're hanging out at elementary schools. They're still doing it. So again, start realizing why they're targeting Spanish people now? Yeah. It's that disgusting. So, that's why this is happening to me. Because I'm calling it out. All I see is the patterns, and I know it's happening. And inconveniently, my bitrate shifts around for the past 40-some minutes, ever since calling this out. Absolutely zero numbers. Why would that be the case unless somebody has literally been called out, they are guilty, and they are hiding it up? Why would that be the case? When we have seen nothing but consistent numbers the whole way through, it was all over the place. We saw 7, 5, 4, 3, 5, 6, 2, 4, 3, 16, 10. Like all these different concurrent shit for the past 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Ever since I said what I said about the NSA and the FBI protecting Donald Trump and his human trafficking ring, ever since then, we've had this absolute lying about our views. Oh, and then one concurrent shifts in. Do you want to come and chat and tell us who you all are? You one concurrent right now. Why don't you come and chat and tell us who you all are, please? Oh, you left. Gee, I wonder why. So, that's why all this is happening, as you can see. They really, really are, like, anytime, that's why anytime I say something where it seems like something they can use, you notice that's why it's like a million fucking, like, it's immediately there's all these people in here, the bit rate's fine. They want something to happen embarrassing to me to discredit me. Yet won't advertise all the stuff I do that's valuable product, valuable. Meanwhile, again, we have 365 and all these people in here confirming that for X amount of time they're in the stream, and it just says zero concurrence. Yet they're in the stream. YouTube knows it ain't them. Yeah, they're like they're like, what the hell? I'll leave you with that. Thanks, guys.